Hey everybody, it's Marking Bad, and we're going to discuss the Berkeley riots that happened because Milo dared to give a talk at UC Berkeley, or attempt to. And with me currently are Magnus. I'd get him to wait, but I think he's driving. Ichabod.
Yep.
And Bubba.
What's up?
And we are expecting one more person. Pike should be here shortly. He's had a long day at work, and he said he needed food to clean up.
Well, and we're gonna have to wait on Ichabod to quit lighting his pubes on fire over there.
Not that fire was not a common topic last night. For anybody that's unaware of what actually occurred, Milo Yiannopolous was supposed to give a talk on safe spaces of all things, and this, I believe, was supposed to be his last visit on his American tour. Oh, and there's Ichabod's other half, Minty.
What's up?
You're late. Kill yourself, faggot.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. I mean, at least I arrived fashionably late.
Put a shotgun in. There's a fox in here.
I know, but I'm currently trying to I'm trying to be a serial killer. Serial.
She's having breakfast.
Yay. To carry on with the recap, let's see if I can share the screen. We'll see. I'm not particularly good at keeping shit sorted. We have, ta-da! So,
Oh my God.
Trump has threatened to defund Berkeley after it canceled the Milo Yiannopolous event due to rioting. We'll get to that in a bit.
Right.
Breaking news: if you break it, you have to pay for it.
Yeah. Antifa stormed Berkeley in an attempt to disrupt his event. He was, like I said, he was supposed to be talking about safe spaces, ironically. Among other things, they attacked what appear to have been innocent people, including a young lady who was giving an interview about why she was attending the talk and was wearing a hat that said, "Make Bitcoin great again." She got pepper sprayed. There was also at least 2 videos I saw of people that were either down and visibly unconscious or down and protecting their heads being beaten with snow fence rebar, and in the case of the guy that was attempting to protect his head, he was being beaten with a shovel. There was a Starbucks destroyed. There was at least 2 banks destroyed. There were multiple ATMs vandalized.
Oh, well, Mark, you know these hipsters are getting dead fucking serious when they'll destroy a Starbucks.
My question is, why are these people destroying a Starbucks when it has already agreed to some part of what appears to be their agenda, which is bring in the immigrants and give them jobs? Starbucks said they're going to hire 10,000 immigrants.
You know what's ironic about this entire situation?
I'm assuming it's the fact
the fact that they're the Antifa, I believe is what they're called.
Fascists, yeah.
Yeah, the anti-fascist people say that they're against fascism. Do fascism.
Yep. So here's another great example. The bonfire in the middle of this right here, this bonfire, that is actually a light plant generator. So that's a mobile generator which has a mast on it that has lights on the top. It was knocked over, set on fire. It burned so thoroughly that the tires melted off.
Jesus.
Yep.
That's a hell of a weenie roast.
Yeah.
Plenty of weenies there.
This pretty accurately describes what happened. A lot of people went full fucking retard. I mean, so this is something that's come up already, is the fact that premeditated, politically motivated violence perpetrated against non-combatant targets by subnational groups or clandestine agents, usually intended to influence an audience, qualifies under the FBI definition of terrorism. So there have been suggestions that anybody that the police have arrested in this should potentially be charged with domestic terrorism. I'm pretty far left, and I'm not seeing a lot of problem with this.
Yeah, I really don't either. Like, if they're gonna be terrorists, charge them as terrorists.
Yeah, and
I mean, my favorite part is what took them so fucking long to decide to defund these fucking places.
Well, and I'm not American, so I'm not certain of what grounds Trump would theoretically have to defund it, other than under the First Amendment, which does protect assembly and does protect free speech. And I'm pretty sure that I'm fairly certain that if he doesn't have the capacity to do so, he could certainly encourage Congress to pursue defunding anybody. I mean, I'm absolutely positive that you look at Title IX, right? Title IX is used as a threat against universities and colleges if they don't have gender equality basically written into everything. And it's used in other more malicious ways, but that's a whole other topic. So I would assume that since Title IX is part of the Constitution, that if you could defund based on a Title IX issue, you could absolutely defund on a First Amendment issue.
Or even saying that these people are supporting terrorism.
Yeah.
Well, not only that,
Here to
but
be
stop and think about it this way. These people are actively preventing people from exercising their First Amendment rights.
Yeah. You have the right to assemble peaceably. You have the right to, provided that you are not actually inciting violence. I've never heard Milo say anything that amounts to inciting violence.
No, only these assholes do it.
I would get him in, except I'm waiting on Pike, and I don't want this to get too unwieldy. 5 seems to be a really good number. Don't get everybody talking over each other. I love the B list, but it does get hectic.
Understand.
So this is another image of that same light plant.
Yeah.
Where you can see somebody who's written on the spray painted on the top, "No Milo," and it's pretty thoroughly on fire. And I mean, those things have 20 gallon tanks. It's 10 or 20 gallon tanks. So that's a lot of gasoline in that. And in one of the Fox News live reports that they were doing, there were people running up in front of it and taking selfies in front of it as though they're proud to fucking be there.
Of course they are. They think they're doing good things, but they don't realize they're being assholes.
Yeah,
and that they are actively campaigning for Trump already to make sure his run lasts another 4 more years.
And the beautiful part is they don't even know it.
Yeah. Now,
they if they don't know it, they have to be some kind of fucking stupid.
Oh,
right
they
here,
are.
this is the young lady that was wearing the hat that said "Make Bitcoin Great Again" and then got pepper sprayed. And actually, you know what? Looking at it, almost the guy behind her, it almost looks like it's the same guy down here that got punched for being there. Now, the actual irony of this is that Berkeley was basically the fountainhead of the university and college free speech movement in, I believe it was 1968. I mean, that's pretty much what sparked things like the protest at Kent State, where the sit-in degenerated into the riot police clubbing and shooting people.
Well, now it's devolved from a sit-in to a shit-in.
Okay, to divulge from this conversation for a second, I really have to ask, Marking, do you know if the Quebec, the guy that shot the mosque, was he Muslim?
As far as I understand, he was not. To speak quickly on that, Quebec has had a separatist movement for at least 40 years. And their priority is preservation of the unique Quebecois culture.
Minty, I can tell you one thing. He was far worse than that. Far worse.
Far worse.
No. Worse than that.
He was anti-immigration?
He was straight?
He was a feminist.
Apparently, the feminist group that he wore the lapel pin of has absolutely disavowed him. Unsurprisingly.
That's good.
But,
That's good.
going back
to UC Berkeley.
You were saying, Bill?
I was saying it was a very rare instance of them disavowing someone like that.
Oh, yeah.
Not really.
Quickly summing up on the Quebec mosque shooter, I believe it was 1972 or 3. The Fédération de Libération de Québec, which is the FLQ, it was fundamentally the French version. Oh, there's Pike. Hi, Pike.
Hey. Yep.
I'll catch you up in a sec, Pike. back in 72 or 73, the FLQ, which was the Quebecois version of the IRA, they kidnapped a politician and killed him. They held him for ransom. So there has been a strong separatist movement in Quebec. We had a referendum in, I'm going to probably fuck up the date on this, but I want to say it was 94, where Quebec wanted to vote to leave Confederation. So there has been a focus in Quebec specifically on their own unique culture, and they are resistant to anything that can change. And when you take a situation where you take a group that historically has been unwilling to assimilate in any manner, like Muslim immigrants, and you plunk them into a society that will not abide anything but adherence to their own culture, you are naturally going to have some kind of abrasion and interaction that is wholly negative.
Or huge backlash.
This has far less to do with white nationalism than it does to do with specifically cultural nationalism in this sense.
Yeah.
If you're willing, if you're a Muslim and you're willing to move in and abide by their culture and their customs, they don't give a shit. You just need to be a francophone and raise your children as francophones. And if you do that mosque thing, well, sure, they can learn Arabic, but you better speak French in public. And they don't care after that. So, I mean, that's where I see and people aren't talking about that, but I mean, nobody's like, I don't like Gavin McInnes, but he's got a point when he says, if you want to talk about discrimination between groups of whites, go to Quebec as an Anglophone and see how well you're treated.
Well, so wait, you're saying as long as I'm speaking French, I could get away with beating off in public out there?
Well, they have, I mean, Quebec has sex.
Well, you're spanking the wee-wee. Sorry, bad joke.
Well, I would actually be yelling wee wee while I was spanking it, but everybody that passes by could just say bonjour, sacre bleu.
I'm not sure how well this is going to play. I'm certainly not going to be able to play the audio for it. I don't have that plug-in set up right now. I mean, this is apparently a man being beaten unconscious.
Oh.
With this Berkeley.
I just read that he died.
I probably shouldn't play all of it. So, guy darts through on motorbikes. So as you can see, you see multiple people using black bloc tactics. In that black bloc, for anybody who doesn't know, is an attempt to blur identifiable features by dressing all in black. I guess it's a common enough tactic amongst at least leftist groups, certainly amongst anarchists.
Well, no, that means these cocksuckers are trying to appropriate ninja culture.
So, as I was saying, Pike's here now. Pike, basically, we're discussing all of the idiocy that has gone on in the last, 15 hours, I guess. Part of the reason I got Pike to come in is because he posted a lot of the pictures for this to Facebook. So he probably has them on his hard drive, and he can probably pull them up. And when he's ready, I'll screen share them. Because there's some serious shit.
Dude, the video that you're playing right now of this, or that you were playing, of that guy who got beaten with poles, I just saw this literally 60 seconds ago on my Twitter feed, but unconfirmed reports are coming in that he died at a hospital.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. So,
I mean, what I saw was unconfirmed. I can't confirm it either, and there's been plenty of fake victimization going around. But
yeah, I mean, the issue with this is I just made a video about this. I mean, this in the space of a month, we have gone from you don't agree with me, you're a Nazi and a fascist, to it's okay to punch Nazis and fascists, to it is a moral societal duty to punch Nazis and fascists. And now
and to kill them now.
Yeah, and now we are at the point where last night it is a moral duty to engage in violent. I would not hesitate to call this insurrection. I don't know that anybody else would necessarily want to use that word, but I believe that's the best word for this. It is a moral duty to engage in moral insurrection against those we have labeled as Nazis and fascists. And if that report is true, that man died, after he was down. The video I saw was an unconscious, unresponsive man being beaten with 4 to 5 foot blunt objects, and that has immediately escalated to it is now acceptable and a moral duty to kill those that we have labeled, not people that are by any objective definition supporting Nazism or fascism or white supremacy, but just those that we have labeled.
So hold up, they're basically saying it's okay to kill anybody they think is a Nazi or fascist, when we've put up with feminists and faggots, known ones, for years.
Yep.
True.
Fucking hell, God.
Righteous indignation is a hell of a drug.
That's one of the points I made is like, okay, first off, this whole it's okay to punch a Nazi, it's a duty to punch a Nazi thing. Okay, so Richard Spencer did do the whole Hail Trump, Hail Victory, and he raised his glass in a very Nazi suggestive manner in one of his speeches. But the justification given for calling him a Nazi and therefore him getting decked was based on this article titled "Is Black Genocide Good?" And it was attributed falsely to him, but he didn't write it. A guy named Colin Liddell wrote it, and basically that thesis statement, that argument, is just the introductory paragraph satire to open the article, and the very next paragraph is, see, most people would be enraged and inflamed by rhetoric like this, except this is exactly what is being called upon in South Africa for white people. So it's just typical alt-right white genocide is happening rhetoric, kind of a Paul Elam-esque shock tactic, clickbait headline, but the article is not actually seriously advocating for black genocide. It's actually arguing against genocide. And so the entire thing is the entire argument for justifying fighting Nazis and, oh, he advocates genocide. The whole thing is a farce. He didn't even write the article, and the article does not even advocate genocide to begin with.
Pike, dude, do you think these fuck knuckles even watch a YouTube video past the first 10 seconds, let alone actually read?
They don't even watch the video. They just take their friend's word at it.
Yeah, well,
they'll watch about the first 10 fucking seconds of a YouTube video, and then they'll make their comment like they know exactly what the fuck they're talking about. And it's like, Jesus Christ, asshole.
Watching the whole video all the way through, ain't nobody got time for that.
Right?
So I got plenty of time for that.
yeah.
But you were just saying
If I'm gonna pull up the damn video, I'm gonna watch the damn thing, unless it's something I'm just like, oh wait, shit, no, I don't need to watch that right at the moment.
You brought up the fact that we've been, quote unquote, putting up with feminists for years now, and it's very easy to find multiple instances of prominent feminists, probably ironically, advocating or promoting kill all men, kill all white men. Lena Dunham did her whole video about how it's time to make white men extinct. Clementine Ford regularly says kill all men. Feminist Current put out an article saying we need a, what did she call it, a mandemic, with a picture of a man drowning in a pool.
Marking, before you click that, put at Real Mint Fox if you want to.
Okay. I'm trying to remember.
I don't know if there's enough room.
Oh,
It's at Real Mint Fox.
I can't remember what
Yeah, that
his
should be
fucking Twitter handle is.
As a note, UC Berkeley riot is trending.
Is it all one? Oh, yeah. It's all one.
Yeah, it's right there on the left.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh wow. There you go.
So as a point of general concern, how long do you figure that this kind of shit will happen before there's an armed response?
Not much.
Oh. I give it less than a day.
Here's my problem with this. One, so I'd mentioned off air that we were at some point going to have to discuss the Overton window, which for anybody who's unaware of what the Overton window is, it's a sliding scale that shifts due to common political discourse. And so if society is trending leftward and, in air quotes, progressively, the Overton window will shift to the left. And what this means is that, let me just show you this. There's a window And outside of a certain range, there are policies and commentary that are radical or unthinkable. And right now at Berkeley, there's obviously a fairly large group of people. I mean, I'm not sure how far I want to trust Fox, but they suggested that there was thousands of people, potentially 2,000 to 3,000 people rioting. And so that discourse and feminist frequency and all of the popular discourse we've been seeing has been trending leftward on a XY political scale, which means that myself, as a middle of the lower left quadrant of the political compass, I'm now in a position where the common leftist discourse places me at the extreme right end. To them, I am in fact a right winger, even though I've not moved. And I actually largely agree with the general principles of liberalism.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wouldn't it almost be like one of those moving sidewalks? Everybody else is standing on it and moving further to the left while you're just kind of standing
I've stepped
behind
off
it
and I'm watching them just steadily go by with Molotovs and black masks, is what it feels like.
Pretty much.
And it's at the point where
Hey,
I'm
Mark.
now. Yeah.
Where exactly on the political field are you? You said upper or left quadrant somewhere.
I'm lower left quadrant. I'm left and libertarian.
I'm probably one of the least amount of libertarian that you can get in that. And I'm like three. Like if you believe in that square graph, I'm like three over to the left and one down.
I would have to find it. I do have.
Similar.
I have it somewhere in my phone.
I think I'm the reverse of that. I think I'm like one square left, three down. But I think all of us are probably in a.
Magnus, I
similar
think,
general
is
range.
just center of right, or
Yeah,
a couple
I'm
steps
still-
center of right.
I was just like right in the little crosshairs, only slightly right.
Okay,
There you go.
is this going to pull up for me? Okay, this is not representative. This is a couple years ago. I'm actually about here. I'm almost dead center left and libertarian.
Okay. What I want you to do is go up all the way almost to authoritarian. Go down one though, right there at that square area,
Right
and then
there? Ish.
up to the left, or to the right, to like right there. Where that?
Okay, so I'm actually like down into the left of you. I fall into the category that is popularly known as minarchist and voluntarist,
Well,
which is
now-
funny because I'm Canadian.
Well, you would know more than I would. What exactly is that quadrant that I'm in? I'm still technically centrist, am I not?
You're kind of on the brink of being centrist and leftist. So you probably believe in largely liberal notions, but you're obviously not a progressive.
Yeah, no.
Well,
Fuck that.
since I'm in the center, but only slightly to the right, I can still get away with saying this to both of you. Fucking lefties.
I know. I've
Fucking
already
leftists.
been accused as a commie, so it's not even funny anymore.
In the space of one day, I managed to be accused of being a white supremacist, even though I'm Métis, which means I'm at least half native. I got accused of being a Nazi, even though I really don't give a shit what religious background you have, as long as it's not a religious background that says that you're going to pitch my gay friends off a roof and stone any of my female friends to death if they get raped.
I know, right?
And to be fair, if you take the wrong interpretation of any of the three Abrahamic religions, you can get those people.
Yes, you
Well,
can.
and the funniest thing about these fucking knob gobblers is it's been brought up several times, even by Nigel Farage, that that Obama actually had a 6-month ban on people from like Saudi Arabia and a couple other places, whereas Trump's just put a 90-day hold on it until they can get their vetting process in order.
I mentioned that to a progressive yesterday, and she was like, good to see that you have all your right-wing talking points lined up. And I was like, lady, that's a fact. If facts are now right-wing, what does that say about the left?
No shit.
Moron.
They ain't got no facts. Their fact game blows. That's what it means.
Yep.
So how depressing is this going to be when I click on this UC Berkeley riot?
Oh,
There's
please
no
don't.
way it's not incredibly depressing.
How
I know.
depressing do you want it to be?
Did you-
I have to admit that I kind of feel bad that this is more depressing than the Velveeta thing I saw.
Well, to be a little bit less depressing, happy Groundhog's Day to everybody here, who's American at least. I don't know if it's
We have it in Canada.
Day.
Don't remind. Don't
Yeah.
Could we not remind everybody that we're waiting on some hairy faggot to decide how much more winter we're gonna get?
No shit.
God damn it! Now I have to ask Caleb if it saw its shadow.
Do it. But seriously though, I really hope that we don't have another, what is it, 6 weeks of winter?
Supposed to be.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't.
I mean,
Really
yeah.
down here.
Okay, so this would be what Pike was referring to. Now, I don't know how far. I don't know if this is actually Ricky Vaughn. It's reputed to
Probably
be
not.
the original Ricky Vaughn, but I mean, this is the man that they beat. And
Damn.
unofficial reports do claim he's dead, apparently. This is an interesting suggestion. I'm pretty sure that if you found a big black biker, Milo would have no problems hiring him. I mean, to go back to the whole, like, I was accused of being, I was accused of being a Nazi, a fascist, a commie, a white supremacist, a misogynist, a rape apologist. Like,
So you've gone all over the spectrum. Now, how many?
Me and Pike apparently do a really good job of pissing off both sides, which apparently means we're doing the job right.
Well, there you go. But I have to bring up before we get too far away from it. You know, if Milo would have hired a big black biker, he would have been constantly asking the guy if he could ride his hog.
Giggity.
And then we've got this, which based on what happened at Berkeley last night, I mean, this is accurate, ladies and gentlemen.
Racist needs to be upgraded to Nazi.
Apparently.
Somebody needs to rehash Aaron Russo's old documentary, America from Freedom to Fascism. Only call it Berkeley from Fags to Fascists.
Oh, just to throw this out there. Apparently, so I know I bring it up a non-point to this Berkeley issue, but or something non-related, I should say. But basically, what happened yesterday was, and Ichabod was involved. Okay, Marky, how do you say I have an MA, a master's in arts? Is it A or an? How do you say it versus writing it? Because apparently people were getting on my ass. No, people were getting on my ass on that yesterday. I was like, this guy was just
if you're saying it as I have an MA, it's an MA.
Yeah, because the reason is the way you Manti, listen, the way you pronounce the letter M starts with a vowel sound. If any word that starts with a vowel sound, an comes before that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just had a trucker explain proper English grammar.
You're welcome.
God damn it. Well, the thing is, he spelt it with an MA. Spelt it. Is there not a difference between spelling it and then saying it? Is what I'm saying.
He who spelt it dealt it.
Common literary usage is to write it as you would pronounce it. Now that may I won't speak to style guides like the Chicago Style Guide. I don't know them, but I know they exist. Interesting though, I've typed UC Berkeley riot as it is spelled in the trending hashtag. It is not. It's trending in my sidebar. It is not trending as an autocomplete.
Really?
I find that fascinating.
Well, the reason I'm sorry, yeah, but yeah, I found that interesting because I asked my professor. They said that you're supposed to spell it with AMA. I have AMA, not anime, because it sounds like anime.
Anime.
Yeah.
Now, something else that apparently occurred was in that brief video clip we saw a couple of guys on motorbikes motoring through. And there are apparently numerous videos of people in motor vehicles being accosted. Apparently in one case, and it's not a video I have seen directly myself, there was a vehicle where they punched out a window and pepper sprayed the driver. There is another video which I have seen where a small mid-sized white sedan is like they're at the point where you can tell they're about to start shaking it until they can flip it, and the driver guns it. And
it seriously looks like a zombie apocalypse scene. They're like, You can almost hear the groaning as they're like clinging to the windshield.
Does this mean we can start shooting them?
So as actually, what's funny about that is the fact that I actually like it seems almost too unreal for me. Like I'm sitting here in my conservative state, and this just doesn't seem real to me.
Well, and I mean, I know Pike has expressed this opinion on Twitter. I've expressed it in a video. This is an incredibly slippery slope. I'm going to badly mangle JFK's quote, assuming it is actually his quote. It's attributed to him. Those who attempt to ride the tiger to power often find themselves riding inside the tiger.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically it's a loose paraphrase of what Nietzsche said.
But
take care when you look at the abyss, because the abyss looks back into you.
But does this not feel unreal to you? Like this entire situation?
Because the Overton window dictates that I am now, by any measurement that relates to the current popular discourse, I am now a right winger, and I'm pretty far to the left, and I'm now the wrong kind of leftist.
Yeah,
I'm now the wrong kind of filthy liberal.
But hold up, Mark. Do you guys not remember when these assholes quit moving that leftist goalpost further and further and further back?
Well, that's exactly what the Overton window describes. Is that as you push the discourse in either direction on an XY political scale, you end up unfortunately pushing people. They don't move, but you push them by dint of your own movement to the fringes.
Well, to be fair, Marky, it's just, I don't know. What happened to the left? Like, literally, I did not see this,
where did it come from? Like, it happened so fast.
Where did it? I've got a lot of theories.
Hold up. I got to bring this up. Do you guys not remember back in the early to mid 90s when the far right crazies started this same shit?
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is no, not the Tea Party. I'm just talking about the fucking religious right started all this shit.
They started that back in the mid to late 80s. I mean, there was a brief burst of it then, because Tipper Gore and PMRC was another example of it.
I'm talking about when somebody actually finally lit the fuse on all their tampons and let it go.
No,
early to mid 90s when it actually really
when we saw the rise of the Westboro Baptist Church, etc.
Yeah, shit like that.
Oh my God!
This just goes along with that I've heard and talked about and even discussed with other people, where politics seems to work on a pendulum. And in the 90s it was the far right, and now it's the far left.
Well, and that is part of the problem. The other part of the problem, specifically relevant to that, is that when the pendulum swings, the reaction of the opposing side dictates how extreme the swing is. So when the religious right had their freakout, that's the countervailing response in public discourse was a burst of political correctness. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. And so it wasn't a big swing back to the left, but it was enough that at the tail end of the Bush 2 years, Obama was elected. And something about that and the coming of age of millennials who, frankly, I apologize to any millennial that feels themselves poorly characterized by this statement, but we raised a generation of fucking milksops that got rewarded.
Millennial here.
that were rewarded for existence, not effort. And when you
be fair, Marking, actually, I'm writing a paper on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't characterize it any other way. I mean, these people they never what it is it's extended neoteny. They never outgrew the behaviors of their infancy and their toddlerhood.
Yep.
But Marking, you have to also take into account that psychologists are saying now they're figuring out that it's a bad thing that so many kids were raised in daycares.
Not just daycares. I mean, the 80s was the latchkey generation. And I'm part of that generation. But you know what?
Yeah.
When I got home, if I didn't have the dishes done when my parents got home, I got a fucking thumping. And if I was, I lived half my life on my grandparents' farm. So when I got up in the morning, if I didn't go out and bring in firewood, Grandma got pissed. I got a whooping. Then I went and got firewood, and breakfast was late. Like, there were repercussions for my behaviors, and that didn't happen with the vast majority of millennials. It went from being a latchkey generation to being a, here's an iPhone, here's a tablet, here's a computer, here's a TV with 4,000 channels of cable. Oh, it's okay that you didn't do any homework, Billy. You're still going to get an A because the school policy is not to fail you.
You know what's funny about that, Marking? Actually, I grew up with a mix between a liberal and I had like a lefty and a righty parent on both ends. It's kind of why I'm so centrist.
And my mother, she was green.
Actually, yeah, I'm not even joking. Like
one was
my
Protestant,
mother,
one was Catholic.
I swear to fucking God, yeah. Actually,
fair,
my mother is more religious than my father. But back to my point, though.
You have one of those?
I did not get everything handed to me growing up, and you can see the results. I'm not a whiny little cunt. I'm not completely freaking liberal. You know what I mean, though, right?
It's strong balance of values.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how I see it. Like, I had to buy my computer, I had to buy my TV, I had to buy everything that is in my room. Literally, I had to either borrow it or I had or yeah, exactly. I didn't get it for nothing. The only thing I ever got was my phone, and that was because it was a family plan. But that's beside the point.
Hey, you know, that prostitution's a hell of a business.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it.
So,
hey, if I could swing around the brass pole, I'd be doing that instead of driving the truck.
Where do you think I met Orange, though? I met him at the strip club. God damn it.
Marking is probably the person you would want to talk to about help with that paper.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah,
Marking.
there you go. You're fucking welcome.
I'm only 2 chapters into the narcissism epidemic, okay?
Oh my God.
No, god damn it.
Yeah, apparently Ichabod here thinks that my sibling has narcissistic personality disorder.
He matches the criteria in the DSM-5. That's not my fault.
God damn it. I don't think he fully fits it, though, is the thing. But then again, I'd have to...
I gave you examples of fucking behavior he has done that fits it.
Yeah, but it has to be repeatable behavior.
Are you saying that the examples I gave you were not repeatable?
Possibly.
Constantly.
Is this presenting for anyone?
No, it's black.
I see it, but I clicked on your face because I know that you're presenting everyone. We can click on you.
Let me refresh real quick.
Oh, you know what? Now I know who Pike is. J Defiant 9. I've retweeted quite a bit of your shit.
Hello.
Oh, God damn it.
Okay,
Nice
so
to meet
it's, why is it not presenting properly?
Because you're not holding your
Because it never presents properly.
Let's not discuss that. That's a different.
I refreshed. It's still not working. Marking.
Okay, so apparently, this is something that Neon Taster had actually tweeted that Pike sent me as a private message. Somebody scrawled graffiti that says "Liberals get the bullet too," and it has a hammer and sickle. I mean, this is the point in discourse that we're at. That the leftist response to a gay man who admits to being a power bottom that loves black dick so triggers them. I mean, and I do not recall if he is in fact actually Jewish, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that anti-Semitism is a fundamental fucking requirement for being a Nazi.
Yeah.
But I mean, these people are so pushed so far to the left that people that are classically liberal, people like
Orange,
myself,
we can hear you messing with your gas can to try to light your pubes again. Knock it off.
these
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's going for whippets. Bubba dropped out temporarily. These people have pushed the discussion so far to the left that the average classical liberal is now no longer an acceptable member of the left. Like I'll give you my example. I'm far enough onto the left that I believe that socialized medicine for those that are fundamentally incapable of success by their own means is acceptable. So you have people that say have severe Down syndrome or have severe congenital conditions. They will never be capable of succeeding by their own merit and their own effort. I have no problem.
Or people who are severely disabled.
Yeah, I have no qualms about providing them with money to live through my taxes. I have problems providing money to people that are fully capable of being engaged members of society and have made shitty decisions. But that is no longer an acceptable position.
See, this is the one thing
this is fucked off so far to the left that I would be, I'd be lined up on the wall.
Well, to be fair, Marking, like something that would actually put me against the wall with you is basically the fact that I don't agree fully with Planned Parenthood. I don't agree fully with it because it basically enables or disables people from actually going out and furthering careers and stuff like that. It doesn't encourage people. It's basically a crutch at this point.
Well, and am I the only one in this group at this point who's reached the point where I've been disappointed by people so many times that not giving a fuck is just a reflex at this point. Nothing these assholes do surprises me at all.
Not really. I mean, it's been escalating for how long? Like over a series of years now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's reduced enthusiasm for Twitter recently because it's like, for a long time, like for the first year or two, I really, really tried to be like a mediator between the whole MRA, feminist, SJW, anti-SJW thing, and really, really tried to highlight people on either side who were reasonable. And what I noticed is that the more centrist and the more devoted you are to actually trying to build bridges and get people to communicate, the more you get targeted by the absolute radical militants. Like Takedown has a fucking hard-on for me, and talk about being labeled shit. There's nothing he hasn't labeled me as. I'm a pedophile, sex predator, Nazi fascist, white supremacist, misogynist, rape apologist.
Pike,
Sorry,
you should just do like I do, Pike. I'm only there for the Pepe memes and midget porn.
By the way, Pike, I'm actually looking at the DSM-5, and I'm under pedophilic disorder.
Oh?
What?
Everybody would joke he's a pedophile. I'm like, oh.
I mean, like, we've got shit. Sargon just tweeted this. How is this not sedition? Hashtag Milo at Cal, UC Berkeley riot. And it is a picture of people standing with a banner that says, "This is war." Like, that is the point that we are at. And I find it absolutely, unutterably fascinating that this is only occurring in places like California and Seattle, where these are gun-free zones. Because I absolutely guarantee you that these people have just enough self-preservation instinct to realize that if they pull this shit in Texas, this is going to end very badly.
Yep.
Oh, there's
if
no
this
doubt.
happens in a place like Florida with stand your ground and castle laws, this is going to end incredibly poorly. I mean,
yeah, but then they'll say, "Oh, guns are bad, though." See, this is proof that it's bad.
When I am currently such a bad leftist that in Canada, because of the infiltration of BLM into Canada, where it has no mandate, I am considering arming myself because I actually am beginning to fear for my own safety.
Minty, I have to point out there were two incidents just over a year ago in Texas and in Arizona where a couple of terrorists got their turbans perforated by citizens and nobody said a word.
Nicely done.
It wasn't in the news. It wasn't in the news.
I saw it.
Nobody said a word about it.
The event in Texas was they had a Draw Muhammad Day art gallery thing, and a pair of Muslims showed up with weapons with the intent to stop it. And they came in with guns ready and they were shot down.
Is it bad? I'm actually glad that happened.
No.
Okay, I'm not a terrible person. Yay me.
Hey Mark, I can't find this on Twitter, so I sent it to you on Facebook. But Lauren Southern just posted another clip of a bunch of random assaults related to the protest. It's pretty brutal.
Christ.
Let's see.
It's like a drive-by beating, is what it looks like to me.
Well, do they just not have enough
Oh my
cops to
God.
send all these jackholes to prison?
And I would desperately love if this shit would fucking like show properly, because I'm gonna have to. Like, yeah, no, like they're using their flat. Holy fuck! Like, I don't know if screen share is gonna decide to work properly. Everybody, click on me. I'm gonna try to present it. If it doesn't work, then I'm sorry, but
It's black.
yeah, no. Yeah, no,
I think you'll have to refresh marking.
If I refresh, it's gonna kill the fucking stream.
Oh.
Depending on how long you're gone, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
if you're on less than 10 minutes, it'll stay going.
well, yeah. I'm gonna have to attempt to retweet this
Can
because
you do it by YouTube? If it was on YouTube.
no, it's a Facebook upload video. So
I can go to your. I can try to screen share if you need me to, Mark.
Yeah. Somebody else try to screen share this.
Well, now while you're working on that, can we all kind of agree that the whole narcissism culture we live in really started with Facebook, with MySpace?
It's part of it. That's actually something that.
God damn it, MySpace.
That's honestly that's something that I legitimately believe.
I'm sharing now, so I'm right here on your page.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll put it up on my Twitter here. Just give me a second to get to the correct page.
Well, see, my problem is I had a hard time taking MySpace seriously. I didn't fuck around with Facebook. I'm only on Twitter to watch it burn, and like I said, for the Pepe memes and the midget porn.
Hey, marking. I didn't know you were you knew Chinese.
Which one? Which one's Chinese?
God damn it.
I knew you were in,
What the fuck?
in Canada. No multi. Damn.
I'm probably gonna see if Positive's available, because the Brown Eye of Sauron generally does a pretty good job of being, like myself and Pike, generally centrist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know too many people that would love to tear these people apart. So I'm going to bail before I actually organize a crusade.
Deus Volt, motherfucker.
Dude, that's what I'm avoiding. That's what I'm avoiding. I'll get back in the rabbit here.
It fucking baffles me that we're at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, and as myself personally, as a citizen of Lalengrad, I have to say I'm in full support of free Kekistan.
the Keknian army will resist you.
Oh, they're not going to resist me. I'm a full-blown citizen of Lalengrad.
Bosnia-Herzegovina stands with Keknia. Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Does it really?
Yes, it does. Because the mudkip ban is illegal, and it's unlawful, and it's unjust.
Yeah, it's not refreshing.
I posted it.
Oh, there it is. I can click it.
So let's see how well this works. Because I got to figure out how to present. Everyone, bink. There we go. This is literally whoa. Oh, she's already had. It's already been pulled. I'll bet you fucking anything.
I can check and see if it's still in my profile. No, it's still in my profile.
Ah, what the hell happened? Yeah, I mean, it's at the point that, and Pike tweeted this earlier. He doesn't currently live in the United States. He's at the point where, when he returns to the United States, he feels it will become necessary to arm himself.
Berkeley is 2 hours away from where I live. Like, I'm from California. All this, I left California in 2014, late 2013. And like just a couple of months before all of this shit started happening. And it's like, I leave you guys for 5 minutes and you guys go absolutely batshit. If I want a bachelor's, I still need 2 more years of college when I come home. And I'm kind of afraid of what my options are going to be, because I'd like to move to Orange County just because it is, or used to be, a very nice place to live. But yeah, like, see, I'm okay. I don't know how, I don't know whether I'm being narcissistic or paranoid, but Takedown has a significant chunk of followers, and he is on my profile 2 or 3 times a week taking random shit that I say out of context, and a lot of people have seen the stuff that he shares, and he runs in very liberal circles. So I feel like if I go to UCLA or UC Irvine, even UC Berkeley, it's not that a whole lot of people are going to recognize me, but all it takes is one student, like one person who's like, holy shit, Pike Kavlovich, that's that rape apologist, Nazi scum guy on Twitter. And they start sharing that around campus, and suddenly, like, yeah, I will legitimately.
What happened to Spinosaurus Kin? He goes to university in Wales. One of the people he's rooming with, because he had a shared accommodation with 3 other people. One of them recognized him from YouTube, and he spent an hour pinned in a chair in the corner of the common shared room they had, being screamed at by 7 people, because he dared to have the opinion that there are, unfortunately, right or wrong, good or bad, there are biases that are currently affecting men that are disproportionate to the care and attention that feminism claims to have for equality. I can't.
Okay, is this the video, by the way, Mark?
That is the video.
Okay.
So you see there's a reporter right in the front. She gets fucking smashed. And then they move on to smash other people. And I do apologize, Lauren, but I'm going to show your video in its entirety.
Do you want me to increase the volume? I might be able to. One second.
Don't worry about it. You don't need the volume to show what's going on there.
Oh, okay. Just making sure, though.
It's pretty obvious. I mean, it's not streaming well, but I mean.
Well, it's because I could use my XSplit if I wanted to, but it's mostly Google. But
so you got the reporter is being pressed up against the barricades there. At least I'm reasonably certain that is a reporter. Asshole with a Starbucks cup right in the fucking bottom right. Yeah, boycott Starbucks. Okay.
Are they fucking kicking her? Jesus.
Probably. Yeah. Somebody fucking gave her a fucking a spear. Yeah, and the cameraman, like the camera has been pushed down, so I assume that's her own cameraman. Oh, the reason it's so he was leaping barricades to get to her, and you see these people, they've all got their faces covered. These are people that don't even have the intestinal fortitude to actually uncover their faces when they beat members of the press. I mean, look at that fucker with the beard. Like, that fucker, if you're going to say, oh, like stereotypical Muslim, the fucker with that giant ass beard, I'm like, that dude kind of looks like a Muslim to me. And he's like, no. See, that's the kind of Muslim I want moving to Canada. That guy right there. That fucker with that giant beard. If that man happens to be Muslim, I would absolutely love to have him move next door. Because he actually has values that are clearly relevant to living in a Western society.
Right.
Don't beat women. Don't unnecessarily engage in violence.
Which I would agree with. Let's stop screen sharing.
And positives here now. So let's let positive have a crack at it. See if I can unpresent you now.
How's my audio? I'm not in a good recording space, so I hope it's okay.
Oh, it's fine.
Fine.
All right, cool.
You're naked doing what now?
Magnus, I would be jerking off, but you're not screen sharing, and it's really hard with just your profile picture.
Oh well, yeah.
Fat.
I'm on my phone, so
He needs to see Van Brace reaching out for his throat.
I gotta go, guys. I gotta go study for my sign language test that I have today. So I'll talk to you later.
Okay,
Have
well,
fun.
Manti, hold up. The only sign language you need to know is this right here.
Oh, hey,
There it
to
is.
be,
Okay.
To be fair, I actually know how to say you're a fucking white male. So the kecks that I get. Anyway, talk to you later, guys. Bye.
bye.
Anyway,
Hello. Bye, man. So I found another one. It's not beating people, so I guess it's not as bad. But I just found a clip of them smashing ATMs.
Yeah. No, that's
They're trying to get back at the banks by breaking the ATMs.
because the fucking candidate they voted for wasn't being funded by banks.
I don't think any of these people voted. Come on, they're anarchists. They just
No,
want to break.
I'm aware of that, but I mean, I've had this argument with anarcho-capitalists, and anarcho-communists get the same argument. Humans are instinctively social, and we have an instinct towards hierarchy. We are not emotionally and psychologically evolved enough to fuck off into the boonies and not have some sense of socialization and hierarchy. We can't do that.
To be fair, some people could operate in a flat society. It can be done, but the thing is, if you make all of society like that, someone's just going to come in and create a hierarchy by force.
Yeah, and that's entirely why I tell anarcho-capitalists that while they have this amazing idealistic proposition, that it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and the like taco salad, the anarcho-capitalists that I've talked to, most of them will admit that it's not probably going to actually happen, but it's pushing for an ideal, and I think they're hoping that things move in that direction.
Pushing for an ideal where more people take personal responsibility, absolutely fine with that, because God knows that would be a fucking turnaround.
Exactly, it'd be great. And then these anarchists, they call themselves anti-fascists. Is that what they're going by right now?
Antifa, yeah.
Antifa, whatever.
They claim to be. We've discussed the irony to some extent.
Well, no, actually, that's something I want to bring up, because I keep hearing everyone say, "Oh, these are fascists. They're fascists. They're fascists." They're not really fascists. They're just authoritarian.
The issue is that they are employing the tactics of fascists.
Yeah, but not everyone would employ. I think that's an easy accusation to dismiss from there, because they're not like fascism is government control.
Yeah,
right?
fascism. Well, and that's the thing, is if these people are inspired to insist that government cleave to their particular set of values and beliefs, then I would argue that they do represent a fascist or fascistic.
But these stuff, they're looking to tear everything down. They don't want Trump replaced by a different person in government. They want the government torn down. They're looking for revolution.
If they would like that, I will make the same recommendation to them that I have made to anarcho-capitalists, which is feel free to move into the Englewood neighborhood of Chicago or consider northern Mexico, because government has no sway in either of those places in particular. And if you are absolutely certain that you are capable of surviving without government intervention at any point, fucking arm up and get her done.
Yeah, but you assume these people actually want to follow through with their values. I think most of them just want to burn shit.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing, is it's gotten to the point where, like, I thought that it was a very simplistic meme where there's the row of protesters, and then there's the row of riot cops, and then it's got the little arrows and pointing to the protesters. It says wants more government. And then it points to the cops, more government.
Yeah.
But it's more and more accurate. I mean,
it depends, I guess.
Title IX overreach on university and college campuses right now. I mean, that's an example of more government. The government has, under Obama, whether or not that Title IX Dear Colleague letter has legislative force, it's been used to instigate a certain level of legislative force. And people are now having their personal relationships intruded upon.
I think the problem is that there's this huge overlap between these different extreme leftists. Some of them are socialists, the ones who want more government, and then some are anarchists, the ones who want no government. And they're both on the same side because they're both.
They apparently are lined up at people like me that are on the left.
Sorry, what was
Guys, I hate to cut this short, but I got a a couple of things I have to go do.
All right, nice to see you, Magnus.
Okay, take care, man.
Wow,
I might be back in a little bit.
That sounded like rules of the road, dude. Are you going to let somebody fucking take a shot to the back of the throat for another 200 miles down the road or what?
No, I'm actually at one of our terminals. I got to take a class, so I might as well get it out of the way.
Go and do the learny.
Yeah, well, they think they can teach me something about safety.
I mean,
all right, I'll catch you guys in a little bit if I get done quick enough.
Absolutely. Come on back. I mean, once Magnus leaves, that's the furthest to the right of anybody that was in this discussion. And that was a centrist. That was a barely authoritarian centrist. And barely to the right of center. And I'm pretty sure that the bulk of us, and
it's
all
really
four
scary
of us,
how prominent the extreme left has gotten.
Yeah, and I refer to the Overton window, this apparent drive to the left that has occurred in public political and social discourse. I mean, okay, yeah, Anita Sarkeesian is the new PMRC. If anybody doesn't know what the fuck that is, please look up Tipper Gore and the Parents Music. What was it? Parents Music Response Council, Rights Council, or something. The irony is that Jello Biafra, back in the 80s, was dragged before a congressional hearing on what eventually pumped out the legislation that mandated the use of parental advisory stickers, because he had Geiger imagery within one of the album leaflets for, I believe it was Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables by the Dead Kennedys. And so he was dragged before this congressional committee to discuss his horrific influence on children with his terrible punk music because of Tipper Gore. And yet he's now freaking the fuck out. While none of this particularly... Trump may be a terrible president, and time will tell if that's the case, but this is no different than all of the people on the left going, Bush was a terrible president, and then all of the people on the right going, look at what Obama's doing. Well, Obama just got into fucking office. Give him some fucking time. I mean, I've given Justin Trudeau a year and a bit, and he has fucking run the rails to the left. And he actually just broke one of his primary campaign promises of
I heard about that.
He was supposed to address the issue of first past the post as a political or an electoral construct in our country.
Yeah, and I was reading about this because I'm interested in electoral reform, and yeah, he just gave this bullshit excuse of why he didn't do it, and just completely
Senate reform in Canada has been an issue it's been a tabled issue repeatedly for almost 30 years. The way the Senate works in Canada, it's not the Senate in the U.S. What happens is that basically senators are appointed for life. So if a senator dies tomorrow, God forbid, Justin Trudeau will go through a process to name a new senator, and there is an approval process. It is in fact similar to what the U.S. is currently experiencing with the hearings to approve the various appointees. But if somebody is approved to a senatorial position, they hold that position to 76 years old or death. So, and I believe I would have to look it up, but Ann Cools is, I believe she's come like expressly out as a men's rights activist. She was the first Caribbean Canadian member of the Senate. She took office back in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, if feminists would ever love an excellent example of an empowered woman, I would absolutely recommend they look her up. She's an amazing woman. If she were to die tomorrow, Trudeau could pick anybody he damn well likes. The theory is that he will pick somebody with political history and political acumen, but he could pick me tomorrow. And if I were to be confirmed, I would hold that position from the age of 38 until either 76 or death. That seems like a
sweet
shitty idea as far as the electorate is concerned, because Parliament votes on a bill and then it goes to the Senate. And if there were to be a number of deaths in the Senate, Trudeau could stack the Senate in favor of liberal policies. The only
liberal policies at this point just not doing what you say you're going to do? Isn't that basically the main liberal policy?
It appears to be. I mean, he's been waffling on legalized marijuana. I have specific reasons that I have issues with the marijuana policies in Canada. I don't smoke it. It's not my thing. Doesn't do it for me. I smoke a joint. I don't really enjoy the buzz. I pass out. I wake up with an absolutely destroyed fridge. That's what I get out of it. It's not fun for me. But I've worked with a lot of people that's their go-to. They would rather smoke a joint than drink a beer. I prefer beer. That's my thing.
Hi.
Yeah, whatever. But here's the thing: the people that I have worked with that enjoy marijuana, they go home on a Friday night, they smoke a joint, and they come to work on Monday. Well, that joint has nothing to do with their capacity to engage safely in their work on Monday.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
If they have an incident at work and they have to perform they have to be engaged in the post-incident process, the drug testing process, they're done. It's all over. Like, their job is gone.
Yeah, most of the drug laws are ridiculous and they're a waste of money.
Yeah, because
the
you know
amount
what?
of ignorance over drugs worldwide is just mind-boggling, just utterly baffling. Like, for example, here in Taiwan, like you're much further left. I guess you're probably the most left person in the room, Mark. You're much more left than I am. And here in Taiwan, the socialized healthcare program is awesome, especially for me as a foreigner, because everything's dirt cheap. I can go see the dentist. I went and saw the dentist and I got 4 fillings for $5. And it took like 30 or 45 minutes. And it was like the best dentist appointment I've ever had. I got a root canal, $5. Everything is $5. But you know, it's exactly, everyone here tells me that their economy is struggling and wages here are really low. They have great public transportation. They have great socialized healthcare, but wages are super low, taxes are high, and everyone tells me that the healthcare program is bankrupting them and it's unsustainable. And within 20 to 30 years, they're not sure what's going to happen to it. And part of it is every I don't know if I should call it paranoia, but every theory that the right wing in America promotes and complains about when it comes to Obamacare is a reality here in Taiwan. You have all these elderly people, just people in general, who they get a runny nose and they go to the doctor and they just take as much as they can get. And doctors here give you so many fucking drugs. It's so scary. The first time I noticed it, the secretary at the school that I worked for was sick and she had like a head cold. Like she was sneezing a little bit and she had a bit of a sore throat. And she showed me all the pills she got from her doctor, and they use these little plastic bag doesn't do it justice. It's like little plastic packets, and each day is one packet, and they're connected together. So it's kind of like a Jacob's ladder thing where you let go and it just like flops open. And she's got 7 days of pills, and each packet has 8 pills. So she's got 56 pills to take over the course of 7 days for a head cold. And they're different pills. You've got like 4 different kinds of pills, 6 or 7 pills a day. And so dialysis here is everywhere because these people burn out their livers within 4 to 5 decades, because whenever they get sick with anything, not only are they incentivized to go see the doctor and get all these drugs, but people are so lazy, they'll just put pills in their mouth without doing a simple Google search of what it is that they're taking, thinking about dosages. There's just no common sense about it. And a lot of people here smoke, a lot of people here drink, so there's a lot of people who are combining these cocktails of drugs, pharmaceuticals, with a shit ton of ingested chemicals from cigs and beer, and they blow out their kidneys and liver, and then guess what? They go back to the doctor and they absorb more taxpayer-funded healthcare for more serious conditions that were caused by abusing the healthcare system in the first place. I say all that kind of neutral because I still like the healthcare system here and I don't abuse it, but I think it's really ridiculous. Like, okay, you can't sell a vape here. And I know it's a really stereotypical, anti-feminist dude loves his vape. I have one, I don't use it, but so many people here smoke. It's like 40% or something. And it just baffles me that they have made it difficult for people to smoke marijuana, which is a much healthier alternative than these cocktails of prescription drugs and much healthier than cigarettes. And they've even made vaping a difficult thing to achieve, which is also amplifying the public health issue. Oh, it pisses me off. It's like this knowledge is a burden to me. How is it that so many elected officials in different governments all over the world are promoting health policies about drugs that injure people, and how are so many people too lazy to look up basic information about what they ingest? This drives me nuts.
I think part of it might be cultural as well.
Well, it definitely is.
So like I said, I'm having trouble screen sharing stuff. I just saw a video, another angle of the video we looked at earlier that Minty Fox shared. The girl is standing beside the barricade. She's struck with what I assume to be a flagpole. She lashes out at the person who struck her, and then is struck. Then she's struck again and knocked down.
Shit.
And that is the point at which you see the people like rushing in, and then you've got that guy with the beard who's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he's trying to stand over her and protect her. Like this is the point in political discourse we're at.
So I just watched the video. She's apparently with a guy. Yeah, she gets hit in the head with a flagpole. I can see it. And yeah, then she punches at the guy who hit her.
And then she's struck again and goes down.
The guy she's with tries to protect her, and then he is pulled away from her. And at that point, she's sprayed with something.
Okay, so that's why she went down. So she was pepper sprayed.
It looks like it, yeah.
Pepper sprayed or some other aerosol irritant.
Yeah, it looks that way. It's fucking scary. But this is why anytime there's ever been a protest in the city I've been in, I don't go there. Because I know, honestly, I know that angry anarchists flock to these protests like moths to a flame and try to burn shit down and beat people and
positive. I think I've mentioned this to you in the past. I was involved in the SCA for a decade. So Society for Creative Anachronism. It's kind of like Renaissance fairs, but people actually put some effort into like researching stuff.
I did that too.
Yeah. Well, California is the birthplace of it. So if you hadn't, I'd be surprised. It spawned in California. And so I spent a decade, at least 8 years of that was involved in heavy armored combat. And now I consider it a martial art. It's certainly not any kind of structured martial art. But if you give me a 3-foot piece of rattan, I can hurt somebody if they're not wearing armor. And it's at the point where I'm very glad I still have my SCA swords in the house. I've got multiple objects of that same sort of size, because I've had 2 attempts to dox me, and if Antifa shows up, it's not going to be pleasant for them. And I've had the police warn me that do not strike them in the ribs, do not strike them above the shoulder, because you run the risk of lethality. Strike them in the knees, make sure they can't run. It's really easy paperwork.
Advice.
I mean, it's at the point where if BLM has infested Canada without mandate, if you want to make an argument that the natives have been treated poorly, absolutely make that argument. But to argue that blacks or African descended individuals, or whatever politically correct term we're going to assign them, for the purpose of identitarian advocacy,
Colored people.
Yeah.
People of color.
Whatever term you want to throw at them to block them out as not being fucking white males. Those people, in general, have not been poorly treated in Canada. There's been no systemic effort to mistreat them. And to suggest that the black communities in Toronto, for instance, where BLM has a fucking stranglehold on social justice. Toronto is one of the most multicultural cities on the planet. Something like 48% of that city is immigrant. They were not born in that city. They have not lived the entirety of their lives there. To complain that a city made up of immigrants is inherently racist would necessarily dictate that half of that city is engaged in racism against other groups that are also included in that giant umbrella.
Well, to be fair, if there is that many people like immigrants, a lot of other countries in the world have some pretty strong racist thinking.
Well, I would.
They've probably imported their racism, so there probably is quite a bit of racism there. It's just not the kind of
entirely
racism.
possible. I mean, certainly, if Pike, could you characterize the way that people in Taiwan consider other various Asian groups from your own experiences?
They really don't like. They really hate the Chinese. Which
everyone hates the Chinese in Asia.
I think they're maybe one of my Taiwanese students is listening to this and gets angry. The cat's out of the bag. But honestly, I feel like their frustration with the Chinese is pretty justified.
Well, they've been treated pretty poorly.
What?
They've been treated pretty poorly by China.
Yeah. Refuses to acknowledge their sovereignty. There was a Korean pop singer who went to Korea, and she put a Taiwanese flag outside of her window during their presidential elections, and the Chinese government went into hysterics and banned her from ever coming into China, and went crazy. Like, they freaked out because Trump said thank you to the president of Taiwan and acknowledged her as the president of Taiwan, and China's
acknowledge the fact that the first woman ever, the first not only the first woman elected in Taiwan, is she not?
Correct.
And she's also very LGBT positive.
Yeah, they had a referendum of sorts here about gay marriage a couple weeks ago. I'm guessing because I didn't hear a whole lot of news after the vote that it didn't pass. I haven't checked, but the door has been cracked. I guess that I should say the closet door has been cracked, but they're voting on it. They're pushing for it.
Yeah, it's like, again, this is exactly in the same category as marijuana for me. If you are not implicitly expecting me to engage in your own private consensual behavior, I have no particular concerns about it.
Well, yeah, like, this has always been my argument, and what I tell my students is it's really, this was why I used to, and I guess still am, a liberal. I don't know what to call myself anymore because of these people, but I've always said it was really ridiculous that the right in America is like, everyone has a right to guns, and you have a right to any kind of gun, even an AR-15, but, we can't make gay marriage legal, and you can't smoke a plant. And I'm like, listen, if I'm in my house and I've got 3 neighbors, and the guy to the left of me is gay, and his boyfriend comes over on the weekends, and they have loud, passionate sex, okay, that might be annoying. Maybe I've got a 5-year-old daughter, right? And I have an awkward conversation or something. That's about the extent of my discomfort over that. The guy on the right side of the house, he smokes bud, and maybe sometimes he comes out of the house and hasn't showered in 5 days, and his beard's got a bunch of Cheeto dust in it. And my daughter's like, "What's wrong with him, Daddy?" And I explain to her that if you're lazy and unmotivated and unhygienic, that's what you'll look like when you get older. That's the extent of my discomfort there. But if the guy across the street has a collection of 20 semi-automatic rifles, then my discomfort level is pretty extreme. Of the 3 options here, he's the only one that really poses a risk to the safety and well-being of my family.
I mean, you've got people like Judd. I'm going to fucking mangle his last name because I can't be bothered. Apatow, whatever.
Judd Apatow.
This is just the beginning. When will all the fools who are still supporting Trump realize what is at stake?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep. So to address, just to address one thing, the gun thing, comparing it to weed thing and LGBT and all that, they're not really equivalents, I don't think, because it's not just a personal liberty thing with the guns in America. It's also the reason you have guns is that the government can't oppress you.
I understand.
That's why that's the overarching reason for the guns, so that if you need to, you can fight back against the government.
I understand.
You have the right to engage in justified resistance.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not quite the same thing as, but smoking weed in your home and not bothering anyone, or having sex with who you want.
Yeah, the argument to be made for having consensual sex with people that are granted the capacity to consent or to ingest whatever manner of intoxicants you prefer is that this is my body. I'm about to light a cigarette. I'm doing so in my own home. The fact of the matter is that regardless of how damaging this is to my own body, I go out of my way not to inflict that upon others. I make conscientious decisions to not intentionally inflict what I'm doing on others. Now, if somebody happens to have a marijuana allergy and I'm out smoking bud and I go, and they drop and have a seizure, well, you know what? I've done something to harm them. That would be the only context in which anarcho-capitalists have kind of an argument, is that we should all be living on the basis of a voluntary agreement not to harm others.
Yeah, it's the basic harm principle is what I think everyone should operate on. If what you're doing isn't harming anyone else and everyone involved is consenting, then no one should have a problem with it.
Now, the problem is when what used to be the liberal left has taken this reasonable harm and this intent to engage in a basic harm, and they fucked off into the weeds.
Yeah,
they're so
far
out into the
going
rhubarb.
on that level. We can talk on that level at least.
Yeah, but fucking off into the rhubarb, complaining, asking somebody where they're from. Well, I'm sure Pike, on occasion, has had interactions where somebody has noticed that his version of Taiwanese Chinese is not perfect, and they've said, "Well, where are you from?" And he doesn't consider that a microaggression.
Oh, I posted, I wanted to make a whole rant about this, but I think I might make a video about it as soon as we get off instead. Everyday Feminism posted this thing. It's supposed to be really edgy and thought-provoking about what if Asian women flirted with white guys the way white guys flirt with Asian women? And I'm like, hey, did it ever occur to you that maybe in Asian countries they do most of these things? So they got all these cliches like, where are you from? And then, can I touch your hair? What do you guys eat? Do you guys eat a whole lot of hamburgers? Do you guys eat a whole lot of fast food? Oh man, your traditions are so fascinating. Or I've only dated Asian people, so you're so exotic. And I'm like,
yeah,
yes.
I knew a girl that was 5'11", about 170 pounds, very and curvy in the sense that she had clearly defined, I guess you could characterize them as relevant to Eurocentric aesthetic traditions, proportions. She looked like Marilyn. She had the curves of Marilyn Monroe. She's 5'11", 160 pounds or 170 pounds, flaming red hair, milk pale skin, and she was doing a master's in Asian studies or Asiatic studies, and her specialization was Mongolia. She stood out like a sore fucking thumb. She commented fairly regularly that she felt like she was almost a circus act on some occasions.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. That's the fundamental thing about most of these social justice types. They've never left their bubble.
They've never left the bosom of mom and dad.
Pretty much, like maybe they've traveled, but it's always been as a vacation. Like you don't experience a culture when you're on vacation.
Yeah, here's
like
something you would consider. You should consider adding to that video, Pike. And I'm not sure how reproducible the studies are, but there have been some studies done on what men and women characterize as their preferred aesthetic ideals, insofar as selecting a partner. And the vast majority of what women select tend to veer towards what African American men represent aesthetically, and the vast majority of what men select veers towards Asian women.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Men want somebody who is smaller, petite, demure. That just happens to be the current aesthetic norm. Women want a guy with huge shoulders, and African Americans tend to be very broad-shouldered. It's just a thing. I know it would add downtime to the video, but it might be worth looking up.
I definitely will. It's just, I don't know. I guess.
Hey, hookers.
Hello.
Hello.
Based Mama is our resident freedom titty fighter.
That's right. God damn it. Boobs, guns, and bacon.
What was that you had in your profile? Mother of the Prince of Free Kekistan or something?
The exiled emperor.
Oh,
Republics can't have kings, but they can have emperors.
There you go.
So
I'm surprised he's down.
You're surprised he's what?
I'm surprised he's down. I'm surprised he's not clamoring for fucking attention. He's what? 2 months old?
You know, he's more like the Dalai Lama. He just farts and waves his hand, and that's like his blessing for you. You know, he's too young to have like, you know, fortune cookie platitudes yet.
So we're at the point where we're discussing the inanity of and the banality of social justice warriors screaming about things like, oh well, white people unnecessarily fetishize Asians.
What?
Well, really quickly, because you've asked me two things about my experience here in Asia, and I want to actually give some substantive feedback. I have experienced like all of the tropes. I've been groped by Taiwanese girls, sometimes like aggressively. I've been catcalled various times since I've been here. I've gotten a whole lot of, what do you guys eat? Just hamburgers a lot? Or do you guys go to Disneyland all the time? Do you like live at the beach?
So it's basically all of those American tropes about Canadians, like, do you know Bob from Canada?
But
interestingly, one of my ex-girlfriends, her grandfather had served in the in military intelligence during the Second World War, and he was posted to the Pacific specifically. And she gave, I mean, entirely anecdotal stories, but he referred to instances where units had been posted throughout the Pacific and they'd gotten on well with the local populations. And in one case, the white sailors in a particular port had spread this rumor that the black men were not to be trifled with. They had tails. And so all of these Pacific Islanders were, the women were, they go to these dances and they were grabbing the black men's asses. And finally, apparently,
asses, how polite! Because when my cousins went over, they were straight grabbing their junk.
Yeah, well, it's specific to this, like the black men have tails, and so these Pacific Islander women were grabbing at the black men's asses to check how big their tails were.
Oh God, that's funny.
So there's your anecdotal American military intelligence from the Second World War event.
Yeah, and if these social justice types would just experience some different cultures, they'd realize that the way foreigners are treated in America is pretty much how foreigners are treated in every country.
Yeah, if I were
I'd
to,
say it's a lot better, actually. I've been a
Yeah.
foreigner in
Well-
another country, and it fucking sucks.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
I mean,
I know, but I'm just saying it's on the same spectrum.
Mama,
You know,
I mean,
foreigners are treated differently than the locals. It's just
If-
how
if-
things are.
Well, yeah, because you are different.
Yeah.
if we were to ask Skeptic Rose about her experiences, even going back to what she considers to be her home country of I believe it's Ireland, she's originally from.
I know she's
I mean-
from the UK.
Yeah, I mean, she considers herself raised in the U.S. and born in the UK.
Yeah.
Her experiences in America, the UK, and in the other places she's lived have all been very, very marked.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to India and traveled around there, and it was weird. man.
Eye-opening?
They kept
That would be
touching
bad.
my skin, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why do you keep? They kept touching my arms. I hate to be touched. Like, I really hate to be touched, especially from strangers and unannounced. And there was a lot of like, they wanted to touch me, and I'm like, why are you touching me? Because they knew that I was, I'm half Cherokee, so I'm like Indian. So they just wanted to see if it was any different than like people. Because I guess they have like their own ideas about our origin story that we're not really people. So they kept like touching just to make sure I was human. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
It was weird, but I understood that I wasn't in like a big city or whatever, and people are going to have like superstitions or ideas about things, and you know, without really having any experience. They don't have like books or anything on it, so it was fine. It was weird. It was, you know, I don't like to be touched was the worst part of it. But I wasn't. If you're open and you're curious about other cultures enough to like go travel and go see what's up, you know, it's really easy to get a bigger picture on how the world works. I would bet that most of these kids, they've never been anywhere else. They've been really coddled. They don't, you know, they've never had to depend on themselves or be around people that didn't know who they were or care about who they were.
Yeah, exactly. And probably a lot of them, even the ones who have traveled, they maybe traveled with their friends or their family on like these planned vacations, stayed in hotels, all this. So they never, you know, they got to see the tourist side of the places they
structured
visited.
playtime.
Yeah, exactly. And then they think, oh, I understand these different cultures because I've been to these other countries. But that, you know, that doesn't mean you actually understand the other culture.
Yeah, they really don't. I think it's like when people say, well, I've been to Mexico. Maybe, okay, you've been to like the Yucatan to a resort or something, but walk around like in the shitty parts of Mexico and you find out real fast why, especially if you're a chick, why you need to have a big scary guy with you.
Well,
Hey Mark, is this on your channel? Fuck you, Twitter, and your
it's on the channel.
fascist goddamn messaging.
Hang on, I'll give you the link to retweet.
Well, Dave was asking because he wants to come cancer up the chat. So
Yes, I mean, I don't know.
The chat could use a little more cancer.
You know what? I'm sorry, chat. I've not even looked at the chat once. That's not something I'm really good at.
I could be your chat monitor if you like.
Yeah, I would have to figure out how to give you permissions.
No, I mean I can look at it. I can read it.
I'm looking at it
I don't care about permissions. I don't need authority.
I mean, yeah. Usually, I'm fairly certain that if people actually noticed anything interesting, they'd fucking lose their shit at me. Something I don't claim that this is especially scientific, but out of what I've seen of the various videos pertaining to the Berkeley riots, I do not see a lot of people of color, colored people, POC, whatever fucking politically correct label we're going to slap on
Non-whiteys.
non-crackers. There seems to be a fuck ton of crackers wearing fucking masks.
oh yeah, the funny thing is they think that if they just wear a mask, you can't tell that they're white people.
Yeah, well, I would like to ask them how
To me,
that
that's
worked.
the
How that
funniest
worked
thing.
out for who was it? Chris Rock that did the like. I'm a member of KKK. Like, that was a fucking skit, for fuck's sakes.
They're just dumb. They don't really, I mean, they're really, really stupid kids who have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. They've never been expected to excel at anything.
No, just showing up is fine.
Yeah, and so they
You
have to have something to
carbon
believe in.
dioxide for the planet, and therefore the plants are going to do good things, and now we're going to give you a ribbon to acknowledge your existence.
Shit, man. I'll be doing that.
Yeah, and I think the reason that you're seeing like only white faces in these protests, because these seem to be mostly anarchist protests, and
you can't be an anarchist unless mommy and daddy fucking pay for shit.
Well, that's one part of it, and the other thing is the people of color tend to like the ones
they
who
actually
are
have jobs.
Yeah, well, they either have jobs, or the ones who would be protesting are the socialist types who want more government, not to tear things down necessarily.
Yeah,
well, I wonder how they're getting all organized and shit like that. I mean, I'm very curious about this because
part of this. I'm absolutely
there are anarchist groups online that organize this kind of shit.
Yeah, but like one of my friends over there was going, well, I think Anonymous was involved, I guess because they had the Guy Fawkes masks or whatever.
No, that's just assholes that are trying to cover their faces.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I'm like, first of all, Anonymous has been like a has-been for a while.
This is no different than my ex-girlfriend arguing that, oh, well, kids lighting a fire in a Florida trailer dump so that they could draw it was, somebody spray paint "fuck Trump" on a trailer, and then they lit something else on fire so people would be drawn to it. Well, it could be kids trying to make a statement because they've got access to social media but no greater understanding of what's going on. And then a week later, she argued that the fact that there's, Nazi swastikas poorly drawn in the New York subway and, fuck, love Trump's hate and all this other shit, that somehow this is indicative of the neo-Nazi resurgence of America because Trump got elected.
I'm still waiting to hear how a gay Jew is a neo-Nazi.
Especially one that loves dick. Black dick.
And is really, 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 really open about that.
He's like, black dick?
You have to understand that the word Nazi doesn't mean anything anymore. It just means
right wing. Nazi. It's just like racist. It's just like misogynist. It's just like
it just means not
xenophobe.
Yeah. Well,
this is just another form of tribalism.
It's just they realized that right wing wasn't being treated as an insult anymore.
Hey, Mark,
people
were send me the watch link?
Happy to be called right wing now, so they had to push it further and say, okay, well, right wing isn't working as an insult, so now we have to call you Nazis. Or they tried alt-right as an insult, and that didn't work. So,
and that's what bothers me though, is that it went in the space of a month from you're a Nazi because you disagree with me, or you're a fascist because you disagree with me, to it's okay to punch Nazis and fascists, to it's a moral and societal duty to punch Nazis and fascists, to I think it would be okay if we killed Nazis and fascists.
Oh, you punch me, I'm gonna fucking shoot you in the face. There's no two ways about that.
And if
Berkeley's a no gun zone.
Yeah, well,
but yeah, that'll stop me.
If that story, like the guy that was being beaten with rebar, if that story bears out, he apparently died of his injuries. It is now, according to the far left, acceptable and in fact a moral duty to kill those that we label Nazis and fascists. I've argued with my fucking father. My father has a fucking PhD. He tried to argue with me that Trump was a fascist. And I said, I hate to be a prescriptivist asshole.
My stupid mother, she has a PhD, the same thing. He's a fascist. This is literally the definition of fascism. I'm like, no, it's not.
No. You know what? I'm going to set the record straight. I'm a high school dropout, and I'm really not that fucking bright. But I do have a pretty keen grasp of what words mean. They mean important things. And fascism requires a totalitarian government that represses the media, centralizes industry, and is inherently characterized by either nationalism or racism. And while you can argue that there is a certain level of nationalism in Trump's agenda, in that he wants to make America great and not anybody the fuck else, his proposal to make the media answerable to their own code of ethics by saying, if you report something, you have to report it fairly and truly. You can't just say Trump is a fascist and expect to get the fuck away with it if there's no evidence for it, because there's a presumption of malice required. That's not repressing the media. That's expecting the media to actually engage with the public by their own ethics. They must
and hold
report
up their truth
truthfully.
and reporting shit.
Yeah. And then you get, well, and that's, I mean, Fox claimed that they, we report, you decide. Well, yeah, Fox, you're not any fucking better than CNN half the time.
That's true.
Probably most of the time, in fact. I'm not a big fan of Hannity. And then you've got centralization of industry. Well, Trump is not speaking of centralization of industry. He wants more free market. So,
Man, if he fucking bails out like the banks or some fucking
then I would absolutely
car thing
recommend
again, I'm gonna
impeaching the
be
shit out of
pissed as fuck. I'm getting so tired of us being
there was
corporate
discussions of
welfare.
impeaching him the day after. Well, okay, impeach him. Guess who you end up with? Pence. Oh, you're going to impeach Pence? Oh, getting Paul Ryan. Huh. You leftists really aren't going to win this battle.
They're
It's
not.
really sad
I mean,
when someone as left wing as you have to say you leftists.
But that's where I am. I mean, there was a reason why I titled my last video the way I did. I'm speaking specifically to the illiberal left. I am so far left that I think socialized healthcare and border control, I guess, technically is a right-wing position now, somehow.
Yeah. If you want to prevent anyone for any reason from entering your country, then you're a Nazi.
All right, so positive. You are probably the most, well, Pike might be able to weigh in on this. I have this conviction that the people that should be allowed into Canada should prioritize the desire to be Canadian.
hey,
Amen.
Mark or somebody, can somebody send me the watch link?
I did. It's in the sidebar.
I can't see that on a tablet. I need you to send it
God damn it.
over Twitter. Sorry.
Yes, dear.
I mean,
Well, I can't
this
tweet
is-
it out if I don't have it. So
God damn it, woman. I worked all night, and now you're making me slave more, and I haven't got a sandwich.
I'm sorry.
Well, and fucking Junior McFucking leading America hasn't got a sandwich either because he doesn't have teeth. Blend up a sandwich, damn it.
So,
I
Mark, what was
do.
the point you were making?
The point I was making is that the argument that there's this horrific nationalist element. Well, here's an appeal directly to the left. Here's an appeal. Here's an appeal directly to the left and their identity politics. If you are going to argue that people are entitled to define themselves by their nations of origin, well, I'm Canadian. I would like to be with Canadians. I think that's an acceptable tribal delineation. I think that Canada, good or bad or indifferent, has a certain amount of pride in hockey and being peacekeepers and giving money to other countries, and we're just generally really nice people. Apparently, I completely break that fucking mold. I'm kind of an asshole.
Here's
But-
what I'll say: the religious people are nice people, and they're too nice. I kind of get frustrated with them. They're like, no, they're just misunderstood kids. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll shoot them. I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a shit. If you want to come to Canada, you need to have as the if we're going to make the identity politics argument, you need to prioritize the identity of Canadian.
Yeah, I
Agreed.
do.
If you want to be Muslim, you can be Muslim after you're Canadian. If you want to be Sikh, you can be Sikh after you're Canadian. If you want to be
Mark, you're
white,
missing
brown,
a
or
fundamental thing, though. You're missing a fundamental thing. Identity only matters if it's an oppressed identity.
Well,
Canadians
but
are not
Canadians-
oppressed, therefore it doesn't matter.
Canadians are only 38 million people on this planet. We are oppressed.
Yeah, good luck with that argument.
Free Canadianistan.
No, Kekistan, free Kekistan.
No,
First.
Canadianistan.
No, we have to prioritize.
Canada's Pakistan, man.
Stands with Kekania and
Kekistan is the most-
Bosnia Herzegovina.
this has been my thing about the whole immigration, borders, nationalism, open borders thing, is if we're going to, because I live in SoCal, I'm like maybe 2 hours away from the border, and I have seen quite a few cities where they just become little Mexicos. And
San Francisco has a fucking interactive map telling you when feces have been deposited on the streets.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I missed the part in history class where it was explained to me which culture feels it is entitled to shit in the streets anytime more recently than, I don't know, the Dark Ages?
Well,
We developed
this
fucking
happens in India.
sewer systems for a reason.
They do it in France too. Just saying.
Really?
Oh yeah, they have the pee carousels in France so people don't piss in the street. And believe me, it ain't the French people you got to worry about, man.
Great.
Yeah.
So instead of the French people being snooty and cigarette-smoking baguette eaters, I got to worry about being pissed on by somebody. Awesome. Paris is off the list.
Yeah, well, like
Paris
that's the thing.
stinks, dude. It smells like open sewer, pretty much the whole place. It's bad.
I would have expected it to smell like cigarette smoke and condescension.
You would think.
It smells like those things too, but it's worth going just for the Louvre, by the way.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to risk it because the 89th district is basically a no-go zone.
Yeah, so don't go to there. Go to the Louvre.
I'm just
Seriously,
telling
just fly
you,
in, go directly to the
prepared
Louvre,
for your
spend 2 days
sentence
in
to be
there, and then leave.
assaulted.
That's fine.
That's all.
I mean, how sad is it that as somebody who is substantially to the left, somebody who, I mean, honestly, Alex Jones would, if Alex Jones took power tomorrow, Alex Jones would recommend that I get a helicopter tour. In all likelihood.
Oh, cool. Competing Forever is in the chat.
Yep.
What
he's
do we got
awesome.
going on in the
Hi,
chat?
Dave.
Is that
Dave
Davey
from
and Dee
Competing
Rose?
Forever is in the chat. I'm assuming you know who that is.
Alex Jones would argue that I
Everybody knows
need
who
to be
he is.
kept away from people to prevent them from being exposed to my liberalist ideas. And I am considered so far to the fucking right by the left that
Well, you can
Mark,
tell this
River
is
West
them in their
53
death
like,
row.
Red's in the chat right now.
everybody that's in the chat, I'm ignoring you. Fuck y'all. Because I'm going to be the worst Canadian ever.
Repressive Canadian.
All right, I'll take authority and send Red the link then.
Oh, Red? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Give Red the link. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Red's only a little ways right of center. And Red and I agree on the vast majority of things. How fucking bizarre is that? Like, oh, you want to smoke pot? Yeah, go do it over there so I don't have to piss test badly. Oh, you want to own guns? Okay. Like, oh,
Just
gays
good.
getting married? Okay. They're not inviting me into their room for their conjugal consummation. Like, I don't give a fuck what you do in your private life. Just make sure that everybody has consent. Fucking make sure that when you lube up your gun and clean it out, that you have consent. I smoke your dope while you fucking clean your gun. I don't care.
Go do
Leave me the
whatever
fuck
you're gonna do.
alone.
That's why I've always identified as old school libertarian. I don't give a fuck what you're doing as long as you're not bothering me.
Do not fuck up my ability to have my life, and I will honestly, I will protect my family.
Yeah.
I mean, my property, my family. I'm putting fucking effort into that shit. You can get the
We
fuck
have
off my
that.
lawn, and you can
Hey,
get the
Red.
fuck away from my wife.
Hey, Red.
What is up, my triggers?
We're
Red.
just, discussing the idiocy of the left,
Yeah, I was watching. It's insanity. But Mark, I sometimes my assessment is sometimes I don't think you're as far left as you think you are. But then again,
Yeah, well, but honestly, you know what? The fact, Red, one of the few things that you and I disagree about is the concept of socialized healthcare for those that are fundamentally incapable of success by their own means.
Well, no. I think I'm against socialized healthcare in general. Assistance for the
The inherently disabled.
to provide for themselves is a different story. I don't think we've ever discussed that because I'm not a monster. I know some people can't
I just
fend
got
for
the
themselves.
impression that you were more inclined towards the charity aspect of it as opposed to the taxation aspect of it.
I prefer charity, but there is particularly in some communities there's no charity to be had. I've lived in some of those communities where it's a town so small that pretty much unless you're the local doctor is going to just help you out, then you're kind of fucked. Because there's hardly anybody in there.
Unless you can convince the local doctor that you've got a dozen free-range eggs and he's willing to take it, well, your kid doesn't get a flu shot.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, the reason why I'm wary of it and I prefer charity is because I've also lived in communities where subsistence on the government is normalized and nobody just gives a fuck about taking care of themselves. It's corrosive to that community. It basically it psychologically damages the poor.
I made that argument against communism in that the concept, generally speaking, that if you hand people a living wage, that they will be in, or even a wage that is somehow scaled to their contribution, will automatically sap the will to become innovative.
Basically,
it's my conviction that if you just tell people your efforts have no connection to your reward, nobody has any vested interest in actually pursuing excellence. And I think that is fundamentally what we're seeing with a large percentage of the millennial generation.
And even if that's not true of the vast majority of people, all it requires is a significant enough percentage of the population.
Yeah, well,
and as long that because once that significant percentage becomes a voting block, you're fucked.
Yeah, well, and here's my Scottish common sense realism analogy. I am fine with a guy that has a fight with his old lady and comes into work shit-faced because she put him to the couch, and instead of getting whatever amount of sleep he could on the couch, he stayed up all night fretting about the fight he just had and drinking. He comes into work disheveled and absolutely fundamentally incapable of doing his job safely. And so we put him off into a corner and we say, you know what? Either come over when you're not drunk. You really shouldn't have driven in.
Yeah.
But come over when you're not drunk and assist us, and we cover for him. I have very serious concerns with a guy that comes in every day or every second day or every third day or once a week with that same sob story.
Yeah.
You need to come into work. You need to accept that you have been hired for a job and have the professionalism to leave your personal baggage at the gate. You need to be able to accept that you have to get up in the morning. I had to make that decision at 25, and I had to make that decision at 18. At 25, I had to decide that playing beer league hockey was not as important as getting up on a Wednesday morning and going to work. At 18, I had to make a decision that I was not going to – I had to understand that I wasn't making the NHL. I was an incredibly talented hockey player, not making the NHL. I either need to scale back and start putting more effort into other things, or I need to commit and see if I can somehow make that push and get myself at least into a semi-pro position in playing hockey. Well, here I am now, 20 fucking years later, making YouTube fucking live stream videos and shitty 3-minute videos on, for 26 viewers or 1,000 views or whatever. But I'm here, fuckers. You're stuck with me now. I made those decisions, and you're going to fucking pay for it.
I have a question for you guys. I want to put it to you because I think this would be an interesting thing to pontificate on for you, Mark. I have a theory that we aren't really out of imperialism. This new globalism is the new imperialism.
It's just it's a different set of assholes in charge. It's as opposed to being.
Well, we're not being invaded by whole countries now. We're being invaded by useful idiots of people who are just going to make money off of them.
Yeah, well,
it's cultural imperialism.
It's oligarchism.
Well, it's cultural more. It's cultural and economical, not military.
I would kind of bridle at that comparison because it's kind of like when people get upset at that American movies and American products are really popular in other countries and they get pissed off about it. Like the French have been notorious for this one, and I'm like, okay, look, I get it. I get it that this irritates the fuck out of you. But cultural imperialism implies that there was some organized plan by the United States to take over the cultures of the rest of the world.
No.
With really good, no. I understand what you mean, but I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm saying in general when that term gets thrown out. So yeah, I apologize. Yeah. Because what they're trying to do is make the choices of people in other countries the fault of the people who produced the option. And I'm offended by that.
They're abusing people for exercising agency.
Yes, and shifting the blame to the person who produced it. I mean, I'm sorry, it's kind of like blaming Japan for weeaboos.
Honestly,
it's not Japan's fault because
I'm absolutely
in a lot of cases they
Japan.
don't even intend for it to. Initially, that wasn't even intended for Western markets. There has been some.
That doesn't mean that I'm not going to blame Japan for weeaboos, because weeaboos and furries are all degenerates, and if I rise to power, I'm absolutely suggesting that they take helicopter rides out to a distant island.
Well,
okay, so Red, to address what you just said,
yeah.
You're assuming that these situations, like for example, McDonald's in France or something like that, it's an actual free market situation where it only exists because the people want it. But I don't think that's an accurate description of why these American companies, the American-based companies, are so prevalent in all these different countries. Well, it's not like there was no McDonald's and somebody in India is like, oh, I must have a McDonald's here. I'm going to open a McDonald's franchise. No, right. McDonald's made an intentional push to open a bunch of franchises in India and advertise and get people addicted to McDonald's food, or in France, or in Thailand, or wherever.
Well, yeah, but I mean, did anyone frog march the people in there and put a gun to their head and make them hand over the francs? Of course not.
No, it's not. It's
because if they didn't want it, because I mean, McDonald's doesn't sell beef burgers in India for a reason.
Yeah.
But all right, if the theory was true that the companies were doing it on purpose and addicting people, then they could sell a fucking beef burger in India, but they can't.
Yeah, well, so the argument there is that there was a stupid story that went around that Tim Hortons in Canada, which is a popular coffee chain, somehow had something that was particularly addictive as opposed to Starbucks. Right. In their coffee. And then I think that's what Red is presupposing, is that if you had a condition in which, say, there was a pheromone laced into McDonald's burgers that instantaneously, regardless of a person's hunger, made them desire what they could smell.
Yeah.
You had an argument.
Yeah.
That there was somehow an abrogation of their own agency, that they would just smell this thing and they'd be like, I have to have that. I mean, that's basically the premise that perfume operates on, is that maintenance girl smells particularly good today, so Red is going to take his drill bit and suggest that perhaps she could maintenance it. She's got the right fucking grade of motor oil, and he's particularly randy.
Right. Yeah. Surprisingly accurate description of the situation, but anyway, go on. But yeah, I get it, because it's kind of like it's the inverse of the American argument that we made for a while, that the Japanese are just flooding our market with these cheap cars. Yeah, but nobody put a gun to anybody's head here in the States and made us buy the Japanese cars. We bought them because they were cheap.
Yeah, there are ways of persuasion that don't involve guns to heads.
Yes, but
so explain to me how they forced anyone.
Who said force?
Here's my argument concerning this.
Okay.
The Japanese
persuaded someone. How is that imperialism? That's my argument. It's not that they made. I mean, we could give them a goatee and mustache if we want, but they didn't. It's not imperialism. They didn't force anybody to do anything. They persuaded them.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
I need to finish this up, guys, because I've got something that I want to address after.
Okay, I'll just finish it quickly here then. Actually, do you know what? It's too big a topic to finish quickly. So, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, probably.
Right, so
I apologize.
no, that's fine. I mean, I understand where this argument is going, and perhaps it's one that we need to address more fully later. I'll be honest. I've been up all fucking night. I work nights, and it's 9:20 my time, so it's I want to say it's 10 o'clock your time, Red. And I mean, I believe Positive is further west, so it could be nearly noon, 11 or noon for him. I think Mama's 11ish o'clock. So I'm flagging.
That's
But
fine.
Berkeley apparently has pinned the blame on 150 masked agitators.
Okay.
I have seen the videos. There are
But
significantly
the mayor of Berkeley was like, "We are not going to allow hate speech in our town." Blah blah blah. I'm like, that's working out great for you, fucking retard.
Yeah, well, here's my problem. I've seen live feeds. Okay, I'm in Canada. I am not particularly biased in any given direction. There was more than 150 assholes with masks on.
Yeah, there was. There had to be about 500, I would say.
I mean,
I think it's probably fairly accurate to say that there's a small number of them that were causing most of the worst stuff.
Yes, but I mean, some of the live feed video I saw, it involved probably 300 to 400 people.
Yeah, but of those 300 to 400, how many of them were actually starting fires and hitting people and breaking shit? And how many of them were standing near the people?
And how many of them were responding to mob psychology?
Yeah, well, exactly. You're in this mob, you're worked up.
The people that respond to mob psychology are not less responsible. If a mob forms outside of my house and starts screaming that the church across the way is somehow horrible, even though they have, because they're a white church, because they're Ukrainian Orthodox, even though they have additional services for, I believe they're Ethiopian Coptics. Like they sublet their church to Ethiopian Coptics, which are not even related to Ukrainian Orthodox. They just happen to share a space. If a mob forms outside and I go outside and I start beating up the Ethiopian Coptics, I'm just as responsible for my own actions, regardless of the mob impetus. I don't give a shit.
So I guess we get into the question of how much is the mob responsible when it is
you are absolutely legally responsible for your own actions. I don't care.
Even if you didn't actually do anything and you're standing next to someone who did.
This is terrorism. Like, realize what this is. This is actual terrorism.
Oh yeah,
my argument is that you are
particularly against the citizenry in order to compel them to a political stance or to sublimate their political stance to yours.
Yeah, and that's my argument. Is that
it's terrorism, it's sedition, it's a bunch of different bad things.
Yes, but my argument is that you are regardless of your response to the mob's impetus, when you take action, you are responsible for that action.
Yes.
So if I go outside because of the mob agitating against Ethiopian Coptics, and I engage in an action against those Ethiopian Coptics, I would be responsible for that action, regardless of the mob impetus.
I think we all agree that individuals are responsible for their own actions. However,
I'm arguing
how do you
downplaying this?
Yeah. Okay. So, but what if they're right? What if there is only 150 people who did the bad actions, and everyone else was just standing there and letting it happen?
My question is, where does Good Samaritan law?
Depends on the laws of the state, but
my immediate question becomes, where does Good Samaritan law sit on this?
Oh,
because if there are people that willingly ignored the plight of those in need of assistance, then there are places where Good Samaritan law kicks in.
Yeah, but I mean, you also have to assess the situation. If there's
absolutely. I mean, triage means that I have to maintain my own safety before I can save anybody else.
Yeah. But
I mean,
probably
I could argue that if you're surrounded by crazy anti-fascists, then you're not safe at all.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, but again, we go back to my argument that I was in the SCA for a decade. Motherfucker hits me with a tent stake or a tent pole. He's going to be lucky that he doesn't get Jeffrey Dahmered. You know what? I am a long ways to the left.
Damn, you motherfuckers are still here?
If you strike me,
Hey, Magnus.
let me give you exactly what almost got me kicked out of a work camp. If you hit me, I will fuck you because I'm into rough sex, asshole. If you hit me with a fucking flagpole, I am going to put that thing so far up your ass. If you survive, you will be spitting splinters for months.
Well,
I'm
Mark,
not shitting.
I can only say that would have made Vlad the Impaler proud.
That blonde girl that gets fucked, she gets smacked once with a flagpole. And there's a guy with her. He gets pulled away and she gets smacked again and she goes down or she gets sprayed with something. She goes down and they start boot fucking her.
What?
Yeah,
there's a video.
They start what?
Yeah, there's a video of a young lady. She's struck with a flag, with like somebody's waving an Antifa flag or an anarcho-communist flag or whatever the fuck's on the end of the flagpole. 6-foot chunk of fucking hardwood. She gets smacked with it, so she goes after the guy.
Yeah,
and then she gets pulled back by the guy that's with her. He gets pulled away. She's sprayed with something. She goes down. The crowd immediately starts to boot fuck her.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
what the fuck is wrong with that?
Two different videos of this.
Yeah, so not just that.
Where are the fucking police here? This is my biggest question. To stand down. Every time shit comes off,
Berkeley has its own police force, so they can legitimately, legally demand that the police, the adjacent police forces, not respond. That is their own jurisdiction.
This is the problem with giving universities way too much fucking power. Because they are going to give these kids a false sense of security and their rightness of doing this shit. And I'm going to tell them right now, you get the fuck off that campus and into towns that aren't so fucking blue, and you're going to get shot.
But they're only doing this in gun-free zones. They're only doing this in gun-free zones.
They're only doing it in places where they already know this shit is going to be tolerated.
It's not that they understand that it will be tolerated. They understand that they experience no significant risk of ventilation.
Yeah, they can just go nuts and do whatever the fuck they want, and they don't care. That shit would never happen here.
Mark, I have to say, if they tried that shit around me, and I saw them pulling that, they wouldn't want to get boot fucked by me. The bullets on my boots are fake, but the boots will hurt.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I'm in Canada, and I'm the wrong kind of leftist. Apparently, I'm not far enough fucking.
Well, yeah, that's how you can tell that their movement is dying. They've turned completely violent. They're terrified. If you actually start giving them, if you actually started to give them consequences, like shooting them with rubber bullets and shit, they would quit really fast because
apparently
even if they're being funded by somebody, and they scattered, but if the police here are fucking retarded because they don't handle crowds well.
Yeah, and I don't think rubber bullets is enough though. I think if you really want to stop this shit from happening, because it keeps happening, and I'm willing to bet it's the same people that just travel around and keep starting shit.
Yeah.
So what needs to happen is they need to be fucking arrested and have serious jail time given to them.
So let me give you the example of what happened during the last Edmonton Oilers playoff run. Okay? And I know this seems weird, but let me explain it. So the Edmonton Oilers were a Cinderella story that particular year, whatever year it was. I don't recall. It's not particularly important to me because I don't really give that much of a fuck about the Edmonton Oilers. But there were a series of riots in Edmonton. And I mentioned that SCA thing I used to do. Well, the guy that trained our local SWAT team was a former king of Antir. He was really fucking good at beating people up with a stick. Really fucking good. Good enough to be representative of the largest kingdom in the known SCA world, in big old air quotes. Okay?
Well, now, how many people out in the audience actually comprehend what you're talking about? I do, but that's because I've been in the society for consenting adults.
That whole SCA thing, that's a bunch of Renaissance fair geeks who are really, really good at doing research. And insofar as the armored combat part is concerned, I consider it a martial art. It's a free-form martial art, but it's basically taking a baseball bat to another asshole while trying to avoid his baseball bat. I mean, I've done it. You are being hit with a baseball bat. You just have a bit of padding and hopefully good ribs. So our SWAT team here in town was trained by a guy that was really good at this shit. And there were videos of this. There was a perfectly locked shield wall of riot shields. And the Edmonton Police Department walked down White Avenue in lockstep, throwing shots, lashing out with their nightsticks over the top of their shields. They suffered no particular consequence and no particular retaliation to themselves. And basically, they frog marched over top of people they were knocking out. And behind 4 ranks of these fuckers, there were cops without riot gear that were sorting them out into, that's an asshole that didn't fight, and he goes to an ambulance. And that's an asshole that did fight, and he goes to a paddy wagon. And that is legitimately what is needed.
Yeah, that's what should be the standard.
Police here, right?
But Jerry Brown isn't going to send the
aren't
fucking.
very good at it.
Jerry Brown's not going to send in the fucking National Guard. This is literally a matter that is going to require either Jerry Brown Act or Trump supersede him and declare some kind of national emergency,
which is probably what
instigate a military response. I mean, he's got an argument for Chicago. Englewood had, I think, it's 48 murders last year in a 3 square mile area. Englewood has got not even fucking 40,000 people. They had fucking 48 murders. They beat everywhere else in Chicago for fucking murder per capita. They beat most places on the planet.
Well, I think that they are probably going to let this shit go until there is needed federal response, and then it's going to be like, oh my God, look, federal fascism.
Yep. We're headed there.
Federal,
like cockroaches.
Hold up, though. The federal fascists carry guns.
Well, see that I wonder to some extent if that is part of the point. Although I'm sure the anarchists on the ground don't know that, but that may be part of the point.
Oh yeah,
inciting and paying these some of these professional activists to do that is to see how far they can push. Because what they want is some action federally, I think, that would allow them to try and dethrone Trump, as it were.
Yeah, definitely. If there is someone funding this, what they're after is that photograph of the cops in full riot gear beating the shit out of some protesters.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem. Enough of us regular folk are seeing this shit on the news where these assholes are just all over the place beating the crap out of people for no fucking reason, just because they want to, oh, this person's a Nazi, let's just beat the hell out of them.
Well,
do you think that Trump's voter bloc, A, is not going to grow, and B, is going to give a fuck if they start blowing the heads off some of these fuckheads?
Well, it depends. I mean, you hear like an example might be the remember the whole thing with the cop using this giant thing, spray can of a mace on a bunch of kids sitting down, arms locked together.
Oh, that meme. I remember that meme.
Yeah. I actually the other day finally found a video with the full context to that. Mm-hmm. And basically they had, prior to that bit, which is the only bit that any of the news seemed to want to show, they had arrested some people for basically resisting. The cops had come in because they had to get rid of some tents that were pitched illegally in the university lawn. And they basically took forever to announce this and gave them plenty of warning and went in and took them out. And then they arrested the few people who resisted physically. And then the students formed a ring around them and did this whole thing with the arms thing like that. And the people that they were going to pepper spray, I watched for like 10 minutes where they tried to persuade these people to move and warned them exactly what's going to happen. And then they did it. And then they got the fuck out of the way so they could take these guys to the pokey. And basically, prior to that point, the protesters were basically literally threatening to hold the cops there in like with cult-like chanting that if they didn't let those guys go, they weren't going to let the cops leave.
Well, Red, you know why that
is not to use the nightsticks that they've got. They just use pepper spray and off they went.
Well, Red, you know why they call it the pokey, don't you?
Because you're going to get pokey.
Well, no, it's because it's jail. You know, that's why they call it the pokey. What the hell's wrong with you?
Hey guys, I'm sorry, I gotta go. You're right about time differences. It's almost 1 a.m. in Taiwan, so I gotta eat and do some stuff.
Scurry off so you can do your like body juggling thing, Mr. fucking Goblin King.
I
fucker.
love Taiwan.
You know me. You know me. All right, man.
I
Thanks for having me.
I love Taiwan
Later.
too. A lot of my stuff says it was made there.
Yeah. They used to be a pretty heavy manufacturing country. I'm not sure if they continue to be or not, but.
All right, you're definitely tired. You're responding to jokes with serious commentary.
That's me all the time. I'm just too literal.
Autism intensifies.
Nice to meet you, Patrick.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think, I'm pretty much just confirmed in what I thought before, and I think that they need to start facing actual consequences as opposed to being allowed to run amok all over
I'm
the
watching the
place.
video right now of the man that it's being reported has died. Like, there are people taking running starts and kicking him in the head.
Didn't they put
Jesus
some
Christ,
of the riot protesters in Washington in like long-term jail sentences?
There's discussions of having those people charged with felony rioting. That's 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that needs to be a regular thing that happens every time this
apparently they may have beat a man to death in the street.
Well, now,
and then
can
they
I
can
say-
all go
can
to
I-
jail for 25 to life.
hold up. Can
The
I
problem
safely
is
say
pinning
that
down the assholes that did it.
There's plenty of video. It's, it'll
can't
take a
identify
while,
them.
but if they're going to be killing people, they're pushing it to the point where it's going to be citizen to citizen violence.
This man is
Well, that's what happens when law enforcement doesn't do anything. People are forced to take things into their own hands.
And
now here's the question of the day. Is it safe to assume that you guys would go along with it if by some stretch of miracle Milo Yiannopolous heard this, and I said right now, for me, you, Red, and probably Metal Gear, and whoever else we can scratch up.
Yeah.
His security force, as long as we could all dress like Duke Nukem and carry two big super soakers full of pepper spray and a bandolier and
You just don't want me to use my minigun. You're just against it. You just think I shouldn't be able to fire it at people. Listen, it fires beanbags too. It's great. It's wonderful.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna fill my super soaker full of cat piss.
Oh.
Yeah, you'll definitely know who the culprits are there forever.
Yeah, 'cause they'll glow in the fucking dark.
Well, no. I'm actually talking about them letting me bring my truck. We open up the back and let a platform fall, and all these guys dressed like Duke Nukem with the super soakers full of pepper spray just come marching out of the fucking truck.
All right, you guys do that. I'm gonna have my glitter gun, so it's easy to identify the motherfuckers.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
yeah,
either
that's
that or
really
positive. We have to keep a spare squirt gun full of Visine for positive, though.
Well, yeah, because pepper spray. I'm especially vulnerable to pepper spray.
Yes, you are.
Another reason I don't go to protests.
The brown eye of Sauron lets us know his weakness. By the way, man, I missed you on Sunday Fun Day.
Yeah, I know. I've been busy on like 25 consecutive Sundays. Sorry.
I also tweeted you a thing for Travels in Tumblr Space. Unfortunately, you can still participate if you wanted to, because I didn't get to add in the stinger on this episode, so I'm just going to do it as a separate thing, or maybe put it on the next one. Or people wondering.
Okay, you sent me on Twitter or Skype?
Twitter, because you tend not to respond to Skype very often, and I don't blame you. It can get kind of chaotic. So
okay, we can talk about this privately some other time.
No problem.
Not on Mark's stream because I think we're taking up space when other people.
Yeah, you set up your sexy phone calls later.
Positive. Just turn that into something really horrible.
Just don't forget, Red, that Positive's pubes are worth $500,000 each.
Mm-hmm. They're the secret to cold fusion.
Why? Is that why you remain in hiding even to this day?
I mean,
well, technically nobody does know where I am, so yeah, I guess. So.
Well, yeah, you're just the other side of the orcs. and we just had the pig human hybrid, and well, that's how you get fucking orcs.
Do you want orcs? This is how we get orcs. That's great.
That's fucking funny.
I mean, let's boil this down to brass fucking tacks, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I just rewatched that video of Antifa Black Bloc folk bludgeoning somebody into unconsciousness. There is an unresponsive man on the tarmac. Somebody takes a running start and boot fucks him in the head, and then they start beating him.
Jeez.
I'm far enough on the left. Like I'm from fucking Canada, for fuck's sakes. I mean, I've got fucking Trudeau announcing that he will take every refugee that Trump has refused. Okay? I don't agree with Trudeau on particularly much. There's a lot I don't agree with him on. Pretty much like we need legalized weed was about fucking it. And you fuckers, I don't have a criminal record. I can get an FAC. You are putting me at the point where my belief that I do not require a firearm to protect myself and my property and my family is now, my patience has run fucking thin. I now consider it immediately and necessarily fucking relevant to my continued fucking existence.
Now hold up. Did anybody catch
fucking shotgun?
Did anybody catch the relevance of what Mark just said?
Yep.
No,
I
mean
live
the
in a
full
country
relevance.
that has
Hold
been
up.
infiltrated by fucking BLM, that has no fucking mandate. We're a country that has fucked
never
over
had
the
slavery.
natives. We fucked over the natives badly, and we have attempted to reconcile that. And the natives have come to the government and said, this was fucking shitty. You need to fucking deal with it. And we have done our best to deal with it. And BLM has come in and fucking forced themselves in an attempt to override the voices of actual minorities. That little meme about don't talk, oppressed black girl. Let me tell the people what you really mean, from the little fucking white girl with the fucking social justice hair. That's what BLM is doing to the Métis, to the natives, to the fucking LGBT.
You say that shit here too, and I always tell them to shut the fuck up. It's goddamn annoying because, well, like, look at what happened with Standing Rock, okay? They go there to protect the environment, and they left 22,000 tons of shit behind them. They always fucking do this.
And these dumbasses, it's all funded by this basically Luddite green movement assholes that don't want it, basically trying to keep any oil from being moved, because if it was about the environment, they'd at least acknowledge that if oil is going to move, the safest way for it to move is by oil or by pipe. And the spills that they worry about, almost all of those are at the facilities at one end or the other in a contained area. But no, none of that matters, because what they really want is Western civilization to grind to a halt. And I'm not being hyperbolic about that. That's exactly what they're after.
Yeah, no, it's what it. Okay, I'm particularly uniquely positioned to comment on this shit because I work in the fucking oil field, and I used to be a roofer. Do you want a roof on your house, asshole? Would you like insulation for your house, asshole? Would you like tires on your car, asshole? Would you like spandex, asshole? Would you like the ability to have groceries delivered to your most immediate grocery store, asshole? Would you like to would you like everything to fucking function, asshole? Would you like to have gaskets in your plumbing, asshole, so that when you flush the toilet, shit doesn't spray across the bathroom fucking floor, asshole? Because that's what we're getting to. That everything requires petrochemical products. Stop fucking with me.
Yeah, they do.
I don't want to burn fucking petrochemicals to run my vehicle, but I have to get the fuck to work. And unless you're willing to saddle yourself to a cart and drag me there, I have to go to the fucking gas pump and put the gas in my fucking vehicle. And Magnus has to go to the fucking gas pump and put diesel into that fucking rig so he can drive your fucking consumer goods to whatever location happens to be relevant to your incessant consumerist needs.
Well, now to be fair, Marking, you have to remember I haul for Starbucks as well, and I'm about to tell them to go fuck themselves.
I'm sick of this shit. You know what? I used to be a fucking roofer, and guess what? The best possible insulation you could put on your fucking roof if you have a flat roof happens to be extruded polystyrene. So styrofoam cuppy shit. That's what you put down. That's if you want an ICF house, an insulated concrete form house that is super fucking great at holding in heat. Guess what? You need extruded polystyrene. Or sorry, expanded polystyrene in both cases. Extruded polystyrene is the shit I call Blue Board. It's Roofmate. If you see the pink shit from Dow Corning with the Pink Panther on it, yeah, that's extruded. The expanded stuff is the stuff that blows up, and if you scrape at it, it forms all these little popcorn particles. If you want that, if you want to be able to be, environmentally conscious and keep a lot of heat in your house, or keep a lot of heat out if you live in, say, I don't know, Arizona or California or places where it's ridiculously fucking hot, guess what? You need fucking petrochemicals. This is how stupid it gets, folks. You know those little things that go on the end of your shoelaces? They're called egglets. That's the technical fucking name. They're made of plastic. You know what plastic's fucking made of? Fucking petrochemicals, you ignorant fucks. Jesus fucking Christ.
And remember, their real purpose is sinister.
Yes, the real purpose is sinister. Choking chickens.
Yeah, right.
Like Magnus is doing right now.
95% of your current modern dye require petrochemical processes to develop. You want a pair of black jeans? Well, guess what? Either you're going to dye them yourself, or you're going to go out and buy a pair of black fucking Levi's.
Now, just remember, folks, in the same fucking hangout, you got an English lesson from a truck driver, and now you just got a lesson on petrochemicals from a high school dropout.
It's going to get worse. It's going to get fucking worse because you know what? I will happily build a scaffold for any asshole that wants to pay me. If you want to pay me to go and put up scaffolds for solar panels or turbine style wind power, that's fucking amazing. Here's my problem. 80% of the rare earth minerals required to develop those products come from fucking China. China has no particular interest in not building giant coal plants or dealing with the coal fires that are running through seams right now that are estimated to run for 2,000 fucking years into the future. Okay? They have no particular consideration for human rights. Oh, there was a coal fire and that particular stretch of the coal mine collapsed and murdered 85 poor Chinamen. Well, guess what? We're going to send in another 90 to clear it out. That's their position, folks. If you want to complain to me about ethical and environmental energy production, do not fuck with me where my fucking bread gets buttered. because I will fucking turn you into a sobbing crybaby that legitimately does need a safe space.
Oh my God! You never know the thing that'll start a marking rant, but holy shit!
Well,
I'm sorry.
finished-
I've got a fucking cat in the other room. Okay, you know what? Let's boil this down to brass fucking tacks. That poor cat got adopted from the SPCA with the expectation that he would have a loving, warm, fed, kitty-littered environment. If you take my food away, he gets fed first. But there will come a point where I can't feed him and I have to give him up, and he doesn't know why he doesn't get fed and he doesn't get kitty litter and he doesn't stay warm. I would put my cat before me when it comes to getting a goddamn meal, and you would take that away from me? You would take the sole measure of companionship I have. I'd leave that poor fucker at home for 12 hours a day, and I feel like shit for it. Because somebody's got to pay these goddamn bills, and that little shit, as cute as he is, can't do fucking windows. He is adorable.
You just haven't trained him.
He
needs training.
Well, I'm sorry. I missed the part where I could train him into having opposable thumbs and figure out how to open up the fucking the cabinet under the sink for the Windex.
Hold up, Mark, hold up. After that rant, I have to admit, I need to light a cigarette because I just finished touching myself.
I can hope so, because Jesus fucking Christ. You know what? Apparently, it's just over a year since I fucking lost my shit on that poor feminist. But like, what is this going to be, like a yearly thing until I'm dead? Where I've got to fucking go snap show? Motherfuckers, if you want to fuck with me, you better pray that you come with a better fucking excuse than carbon dioxide. Because you know what, assholes? We've been tracking that shit for, I don't know, call it 100 years. I'll be generous. Let's say it's 100 years. We've been tracking how much carbon dioxide we pump into the atmosphere and how much methane the cows put out. And we've started, the left has started making these brilliant models that we can't fucking verify because we've been studying it for 100 fucking years. This planet's been around for, what is it, 4.5 billion?
Something like that, yeah. Hey,
even
from up here, I have no idea what's going on.
We have. You are presumptuous as fuck to assume that you know. You are no less presumptuous than a fucking a young earther or a creationist to say that you absolutely scientifically know what amount of impact we have had in the 200 years that we have been industrialized. Absolutely, we have an impact. That is not something I will argue. But you cannot tell me that you know for a fact that you have objective data that will demonstrate that we are intrinsically harming the planet. It is a closed system. Hang on, Magnus. Let me just finish this up. Just for those couple assholes out there that are like, but my data. Because that data is fucking amazing. This is a closed system. Okay?
Well,
generally speaking. There's enough openness to this system that if you take that hole that's hovering over the penguins and you go, oh, there's an ozone hole. Well, we can do some things. Like we can reduce our reliance on CFCs as aerosol propellants. And that will directly reduce the amount of ozone depletion. And that's fucking amazing. That's, you know what? We noticed there was a problem. We did something. But our shift away from CFC propellants in order to address that ozone depletion does not return us to the previous state.
Oh, Mark, keep ranting, baby. I'm still
previous state will never be reachieved. That previous state, that magical fucking, oh, we weren't fucking shit up with CFCs and fluor or whatever the fuck it was. The air conditioning shit. CFC, but there was a couple of specific ones that were really bad.
The tongue twister.
Chlorofluorocarbons.
Yeah.
We can never re-achieve that position we were at prior to using those things. We will never go back to that. We will never return to the Garden of Eden. we will never achieve that state that we were at previously. So all we can do is move forward with the expectation that we will mitigate our impact. Canada has a shit ton of fucking trees, and we have the most fresh water on the fucking planet. These are massive carbon sinks. And you are going to tell me right now that overwhelmingly, in comparison to the rest of the planet, relative to what China is ignoring in their on-fire coal seams, that we are inherently destroying the planet and that we need to have a carbon tax that is taking money out of my pocket because I don't get the rebates. I get to put fucking fuel in that vehicle every week if I want to drive to work. And if I want to take the bus to work, I got to get on a diesel-fueled bus that is still going to have to go to a fuel pump just to get my ass to a place where I can build a scaffold because that's what we got. And I don't see any of you assholes dreaming up new ways to create solar panels that don't rely on the human rights violations and the environmental, it's not ignorance, it's the environmental apathy of China. You want to tell me that I am inherently a bad person, Jane Fonda, at all?
Oh, God, don't get me started on Jane Fonda.
Bitch.
Yeah,
come on over. Harder. I will buy you a pair of work boots. I will buy you a pair of coveralls. You tell me that my life is simple. You live a day in my world. And you tell me that I don't have to make choices based on the system I exist in. And I have to try and make the most reasonable, ethical choices available to me. And I still have to balance that against what I need to get done. Because the bank is not going to take, I'm sorry, I think working in the oil field is unethical as an excuse to not pay my mortgage.
Okay, now, at this point, is it safe to say that after that rigorous Jane fondling he just did, that all of us are sitting here with a cigarette in one hand and a wet crotch?
I need to take a shower. I'm all sticky.
I just want to say
I'm gonna be cutting that part out. That's just gonna be a video on its own. That's, like I said, it's been a year since I went off on a poor feminist and just left him like a deer in the headlights. So, well, apparently once a year I've just got a fucking hammer on people.
I just want to say moist.
I think we're far beyond moist at this point.
I'm pretty moist. Yeah,
you don't need
no.
any more Visine there.
Not at all. I'm producing all the moisture I need.
You want phase 2, folks? Want phase 2?
Oh, God.
Okay, I have to bow out for phase 2.
All right.
Absolute pleasure.
Feel free to check back in later, because
no, I'll be gone. But have fun, boys.
Good to meet you.
Take care, man.
Nice to meet you too.
Jane Fonda, Neil Young, etc.
Run live Sauron, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay.
He was moist when he left us.
You'll be the white eye
They're
soon.
cutting out Magnus. Oh, jeez.
So, part 2. Jane Fonda, Neil Young, et al. While I appreciate your insistence on advocating for ethical environmental stewardship, and I do. I legitimately do. I would absolutely love to have a planet that is largely capable of sustaining itself without tearing non-reproducible or non-renewable resources out of the ground. But here's where I really, really get agitated by your hypocrisy. Neil Young, when you came to Edmonton and you had your little fucking concert with 20,000 hippies all swaying and holding their lighters and singing Kumbaya or whatever the fuck went on, because I couldn't afford to take a night off work to go and see what fuckery and whataboutery you had going on. I was too busy paying my bills. You ran 3 diesel buses all fucking night. And you flew in to Fort McMurray from Edmonton on a private plane. And Jane Fonda, you flew to Edmonton on a private plane, and then you took a helicopter tour of the oil sands. You burned those irreplaceable resources just so that you could pontificate on the value of what I do for a living. I'm not that great of a human being. I will admit that I am, on occasion, really absolutely fucking self-centered and probably by all socialist considerations, absolutely reprehensible, regardless of what I think about providing for other people. But you do not fuck with my ability to keep my ass from being cold. I sit on fucking iron beams all night, and that shit gives people hemorrhoids. My ass already gets cold. When I come the fuck home, I want to take off my sweat-soaked boots, I want to get my feet warm, and I want to hope I don't get hemorrhoids from having sat on a steel beam.
Hemorrhoids.
And Jane Fonda and Neil Young and Leonardo DiCaprio, because you fucking whined and pissed and moaned until they gave you an Oscar, apparently. You're a great actor, but I'm not sure what the fuck you're yammering about. You were there in the middle of a fucking Chinook, you cunt. Look it up. It means the warm wind from the west. That's a thing that Calgary has. It suddenly gets warm because there's trade passes and warm air comes over the mountains from BC, and suddenly there's no snow. It's a fucking meteorological phenomenon, asshole.
Oh, Mark, you're going to have to stop ranting. I'm shooting powdered sperm at this point.
You know what? I would absolutely love to have more trees and more clean water. But you know what? I spent my summers living out at the farm, swimming in a local lake that was full of itchweed, and I got the fuck over it. And then I got fucking older, and I realized nobody owes me fuck all. I don't see Jane Fonda lining up to pay my fucking bill. She ignored a woman outside of a fucking Tim Hortons that was literally telling her that she was going to take food out of people's mouths.
Well, yeah,
Neil
because
Young,
that's something she doesn't want to hear, so she will just ignore it and keep.
Yeah,
fucking
Neil
walking.
Young is busy. You know what? I love your music, man. You're a really good fucking songwriter. You're a good musician. You tell some amazing fucking stories. But you are gonna take food out of my mouth. I'm the last asshole I'm worried about. You're gonna take food out of the mouths of parents that have kids to feed. I got a cat. I'm sure that if it came down to choosing between feeding myself and feeding my cat, I could find somebody to take my cat. He doesn't know any better. He'll get used to it. But you're going to take food out of the mouths of children because you're going to say that their parents' jobs are somehow fundamentally immoral because we're doing the best we can with the technology we have. I'm sorry. Get off your fucking high horse, pick up a goddamn shovel and dig ditches with the rest of us, asshole.
Look, we all know that Jane Fonda is, absolutely the best at fusion energy. It's just nobody's listening to her.
Yeah, the only thing
because
she's
such a
fused in the last 20
gigantic
years
cunt.
is her fucking the corners of her lips to her ears. Botox.
That's why I don't
Botox
like them.
requires fucking
Calm down,
petrochemical products, bitch.
I don't listen to them, and I don't think anybody else should listen to them because celebrities are not
They're allowed to
masters
have
of
their
the
opinions.
fields that they like to comment on. It's fine for them to comment. Like I was saying this the other day. I'm off of the Avengers for life. Like I'm fucking done with these people, except for Chris Evans. And the reason is because he had his
I went
opinion.
after Chris
He bitched
Evans
like
too.
a little girl, but he didn't participate in propaganda.
I went after. No, he absolutely did.
When?
Mark, you forget both of us went after him. We had a ball with that.
Oh yeah, Chris Evans fucking tweeted about how there's still a wage gap, and I fucking went to town.
Well, yeah, because that's misinformed and stupid.
Well, that's still replication or delivery of propaganda.
Well,
because that bullshit's fucking not even fucking. You know what?
Well,
I have more
people have
evidence
stupid
for I have
opinions,
more
but-
evidence for that funny-haired fuck going "it's aliens" than I do for a wage gap.
Well,
yeah, there is actually more. There is actually more evidence for
I've got
aliens
more
than wage
evidence
gap.
I've got more evidence for fucking Stardust or Sandman, whichever one of them MiG Taliban retards it was, screaming about mind-controlling pussy juice than I do for a wage gap.
Well,
That was Sandman.
here's the
Whichever.
thing, if I may. I don't know about you guys, but as a conservative, I have long reconciled the fact that if I want to watch any movies or listen to any music or pretty much any of the normal media, if I want to enjoy any of that, I'm going to have to buy products from people whose opinions I don't like, and they would probably hate mine. That's okay.
No, I don't care about their opinions. I care about participation and propaganda. That's what I'm saying.
Hold on, I was almost to the good part.
You just oppressed me.
Maybe if I had my way, I'd press you into a couch and make you scream, but that's beside the point. Anyway, what I was getting at, the one way to reconcile this that other people have done, and I think it's a commendable way to do this. Remember, the assholes, the stars, the big name musicians, those fuckers will take your money and then fight for everything that you hate. But all of the workaday people who are behind the scenes that make those guys look good, most of them have normal politics. They get a paycheck too. And I always reconcile this. Yeah, I go into the movies and these guys, get paid
I disagree.
Amounts of money to and they end up saying shit that I find stupid at best and deplorable at worst. But on the other hand, all the gaffers and basically the day-to-day people who make all that shit happen, they're ordinary people. I'm going to pretend that I'm just paying those guys.
And it's a moral thing. I'm not doing this as like some kind of moral protest. It's because I'm so fucking sick of seeing their face.
And Red, I fundamentally disagree because IATSE is one of the furthest left of the unions in North America.
That's true.
They don't have a literal litmus test, but they are vigorously and aggressively leftist in a manner that even as a fairly leftish person, I cannot support.
Well,
I know a lot of people behind the scenes. They're not telling me how to vote, so I don't really care.
Because they could
parts of the world moved from IATSE to being Han Solo, and we're still voting their conscience as opposed to voting what their union tells me or tells them. And I'm in a union, and I would if I had been an American, I would have absolutely voted against what my union told me to vote. Because that's the kind of asshole I am. I look at the actual facts.
I wonder how it is that they can reconcile calling half of the country racist, misogynist, sexist, homophobe, Islamophobe, whatever. Do they really stay in a bubble that small that they don't realize that people have like real concerns, like putting food on the table? I mean, we already pay 53% of our income to tax. To taxes, and I've got 6 kids. Like, they don't give a shit how many kids you have. They cut off your tax break at 3 kids anyway. Might as well have 100 kids. Don't fucking matter.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to disagree on that one because I don't have any kids, and I don't get a fucking and I don't get a fucking tax break. So,
well, I should also point out that there is the way that I do it. See, used to, I would make an effort to go see a movie that I wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after this Hollywood bullshit, if you see my ass at a motherfucking movie theater again, you'll be lucky. I'll just wait till it comes out on DVD and download it if I want to see it that fucking bad.
Yeah, or Netflix.
Yep.
No, and I'm not even paying that.
I like Netflix, though. Their original shows are pretty good.
Yeah, but see, now I'm off of Stranger Things. Like, I loved that show, and now I had to listen to this crazy fucking idiot rant about how it's okay, you should hate casual violence, and in the same fucking sentence go, you should punch people you don't agree with. What the fuck?
Oh my
and
God.
There's kids involved in this show, so they're hearing this, and they think, this is a grown-up that I look up to, and he must be right about things. So, yeah, punch a fucking Nazi. What the fuck are you teaching these kids? You're teaching them to be violent to people that they don't agree with, and that's not how we run it.
No. You just have them watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He punches a lot of Nazis in that one.
Yeah, but like real Nazis. And then Hellboy kills Nazis with their robot Nazis.
Yeah.
I like Hellboy a lot more anyway.
Yeah, the first Hellboy movie was good. The second one was...
I've never seen the second one.
It's not
I was a fan of the comics.
But it's not very good. unfortunately. It's just
That's all right.
Apparently, when I stop
I'll
ranting,
skip it.
our fucking viewership goes down because it shot back up to nearly 30 when I was ranting.
well, you can let me rant, but I get interrupted too much.
Well, they
I'm
felt
kidding,
that
I'm kidding. It's fine.
they felt the disturbance in the dank side of the memes.
Free Keknia from the Mudkip band.
Oh, and that what the other thing that's really also I forgot to mention that's really irritating about the whole pipeline thing when we talked about that earlier is the real reason you have like one tribe who's involved, who's not even going through their land, just adjacent to it, is because they were trying to get basically be able to levy a pass-through fine or fee. It's basically so they could get paid every time stuff goes through.
Let me explain this in the way that it works in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. So not only was it was just outside of their territory, and it was planned to run 90 feet but below river level.
Right.
So what they wanted was lease right. That's what we call it in Canada, where if you have access. So on my grandparents' farm, there was a natural gas deposit, and it was a capped deposit. Somebody had come in and put up the structures to actually get into that particular gas pocket, but they capped it all so that at a later date they could go in and get it, but it wasn't going anywhere in the meantime. But to get onto the property, they had to pay a lease, and they had to promise to maintain the access for that particular lease.
Right.
So that it's a rental in a sense.
Yeah.
We want you to pay for access to this amount of property.
Right.
And you have to produce either the infrastructure maintenance or something else, et cetera.
Right.
And now I understand the argument that yes, now this was supposed to be a double vaulted pipeline.
Right.
So you've got whatever size of pipe that is actually funneling material, and then you've got a vault around it. And this is not just like this. We're not talking like a vault in the sense of a bank vault. We're talking like a subway system vault, where there is the capacity to walk alongside with equipment to inspect the integrity of the pipeline's infrastructure.
Right.
There's not just that. There's also the capacity to run. They're called pigs.
Right.
I'm not sure why they're called pigs, but they make
a squeaking noise,
a squealing noise, I believe is what I'd heard.
Yeah.
But they shut down a section of pipe, and they can run this pig along. Mm-hmm. Pig's got a camera, and based on the noises it makes, they can through infrasonic registry, they can test the integrity of the pipeline itself. Yeah. The internal and external non-destructive testing.
Right.
And like I said, we're not talking like they just put like a concrete culvert with a couple of inches of space around a 2-foot pipe. We're talking they're building something you can walk in, and you can surmount the pipe and move to the other side if you have to. We're talking about a massive fucking construction here. We're talking like subway car shit.
Yeah.
90 feet below the bottom of the river, not 90 feet below grade, 90 feet below the bottom of the river. So let's say that at the location that it passes the river, or it breaches the river, it's already 5 feet down. Well, they're 95 feet below actual grade.
Yep.
Okay. Let this sink in, folks. You have a high school fucking dropout explaining what the fuck is going on in a pipeline. A guy that I play Tinker Toys for adults. I climb shit. I make noise. I occasionally howl like a monkey. Okay? That's what I do for fucking living. I used to break shit.
I just had this mental image of Marky climbing to the top of a scaffolding in the middle of the night, holding up this bit of rebar and going, "Oh!"
Actually, when I was framing, I actually got kicked out of a house off of a particular house construction because I went arm over arm across the underside of the trusses, hooked my feet into the last one, and swung out the window upside down, howling like a fucking monkey.
Funny.
They didn't want me
You're
back.
such a kid.
Yeah,
Well,
see, this is why men love these sorts of jobs and women hate
See,
them.
I would have loved that. That would have been
Most
awesome.
women love her.
Yes, but the problem is, Base Mama, that had you been on a work site with me, I'm sure that your coveralls, no matter how loose they were, would have been too tight for me to safely and undistractedly do my job.
Okay, Mark,
They're not
I have
that
to,
big.
Mark, I have to say this, but I'm swiping that picture you posted on Twitter.
Yeah, but they're really Base Mama. It's not necessarily that big. They're just really nice.
They are. I'm so proud of them. This is after 6 kids. And they were all breastfed. I'm really doing like a hell of a job keeping this shit upright.
Well, you gave them plenty of workouts.
Workout.
Hey, it's a glandular workout for both of us.
I mean, let's look at you know what? Yes, I get it. There's some argument to be made that, okay, well, I think it was Bismarck didn't want the pipeline running near their water source. Well, it wasn't running any closer to their water source than it is to the Standing Rock water source. And
Well, their water source was moved. It was relocated from a different
well,
spring well.
they theoretically can draw from the river. If they have wells, the wells may feed from the river because the aquifer goes. I mean, that's part of the reason why it's 90 feet down.
Yeah,
There's a
my
certain
favorite
depth that was estimated to be outside of the range of leach to the aquifer. I mean, most people don't drill 90 feet to get a well.
Well, that's true. But listen, the argument that I actually heard from one of the chicks protesting who was has a degree. She didn't specify what degree, but she has a degree.
Gender studies.
And then, wait for it, she said that gravity would bring up an oil spill to sully the river water.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, how the fuck is it going to do that?
So after she watched that, after she watched the first 40 seconds of the Beverly Hillbillies, did she get any further education on how gravity works? Because what happened in that was Pa took a shot at a possum and found oil. Because for some reason, inexplicable to anybody outside of La Brea, there was a surface oil, a surface oil bubble. Because that's what the La Brea tar pits are. It's oil at the surface. That's remarkably unusual. The oil sands are the only other occurrence of it, and it's not even oil at the surface. It just happens to be oil that is relatively accessible after considerable extraction has been dealt with. And
I just thought it was funny that she thought oil, which is obviously heavier than water, is somehow going to
it depends
make
on
its way up
oil.
90 feet into the riverbed.
Crude oil actually is lighter, but it's not light enough that it's going to seep upwards inherently.
Apparently, she thinks it is plasma.
No, it's not.
Sorry.
I mean, let's look at it this way, people. When I was a roofer, the quality of asphalt consistently went down because the cracker towers, these are big fucking towers that they pump raw crude into, and then they heat them so that they can pull various components out, okay?
Right.
So up at the top, you've got butane. That's the shit you put in your lighter. And then you got hexane, which I'm not sure what hexane does, but it's relevant to something the fuck or other. And then
I know my fiance does that shit. I don't.
Yeah, well, but I mean, butane is C4H8O4, I think. And then you got hexane is C6H12O6, and then you got octane, which is C8H16O8. Octane's what goes in your gas, in general. And way the fuck down near the bottom, you got asphalt, which is the shit you put on roads or on fucking roof shingles or in asphalt that gets mopped out onto a roof by an asshole that has to, I'm not kidding you folks, it gets mopped out.
You're that asshole, aren't you?
I was that asshole.
You're the asphalt monkey.
Yeah. You're the asphalt asshole.
I was a useful asshole because there's not a roof that I worked on that you couldn't sleep under a single square inch of and stay dry. That I had professional pride. I provided shelter. One of those essential elements that
they
all
can't
of
do
humanity
asphalt
needs.
here on roofs because it'll melt.
Yup. But that's because you live in the ass end of nowhere where it's hotter than fuck.
Hey, it keeps a lot of hot chicks in shorts and tank tops. So.
Yeah, well, I don't see a lot of those hot chicks offering up their magnificent boobies. Not seeing them pointed at me, that's all I'm saying.
That's because you're not here. You're in the Great White North, where you have to cover everything up just to maintain your body heat.
You know why I live in the Great White Nope? Because there's a lot of nopes that can't live here. I'm sorry. You can keep your fucking crocodiles in the sewers and shit.
Yeah, well, you know what? You know why?
That's New Jersey.
And Florida, which I mean also has other problems with.
Those are alligators. Those aren't crocodiles.
Whatever. I mean, Florida's got a whole batch of crazy I don't even want to deal with.
Yeah, you know why I live in space, right?
Because there's never any
dies
nopes.
there.
The only nopes are red-related nopes.
Well, and when we deal with illegal aliens, they're literally aliens. Fucking Martians taking our job.
They're everywhere.
Let me boil this down in terms that every asshole fucking millennial will understand, I hope.
Are you going to boil it down to brass tacks again?
Yeah. Because you know what? It's that whole Scottish real sense, Scottish common sense realism thing that I do. Like, you gotta make this accessible to the common masses, regardless of how fucking dumb they are. And I legitimately believe that the vast majority of Albert Einstein was right. There will come a point where technology is so advanced that humanity is unable to keep up. We're no longer a fire hose aimed at a teacup. We're a fucking fire. It's the Hadron Collider aimed at a fucking thimble. That's how fast information comes at us. Attention deficit might actually be a survival strategy at this point.
It could be. There's quite a bit of discussion, actually.
When you throw those fucking Vans on, because when you pull on your black Vans so you can go out to your little black bloc Antifa protest, well, the soles on those shoes, they're made of fucking petrochemicals in all likelihood. Or they had petrochemicals involved in transporting the products that made your Vans.
Oh, they don't understand concepts. Okay, nothing makes sense to them.
Let me go through this whole fucking list, because this is going to be fun. Okay, this is just shit I'm making up off the top of my head. So, again, the egglets, the little plastic bits on the ends of your shoelaces on your Vans, those fancy fucking Chuck Taylors or whatever the fuck you're wearing, because mommy and daddy are willing to let you live in the basement, unlike the rest of us who have fucking bills to pay and got to go to work. And when you riot in Portland and throw fucking metal barricades onto the Max tracks, you're risking the lives of people. Yeah, those egglets on your shoelaces, those are made of plastic. That's petrochemical. Your jeans, in all likelihood, the power required to produce those jeans, even if they're Carhartts, those are produced in fucking Asia, okay? Carhartts used to be all American made. They're not anymore. Part of why I'm considering not buying Carhartts.
That explains why they suck so much.
Yeah, I used to buy Carhartts because they were made in America. I'm Canadian, but I wanted a local product. Well, guess what? I'm going to be buying Dickies from now on. And I don't like Dickies because they wear out too fast. But at least they're local. So there's going to be a coal plant somewhere in the Philippines or in Vietnam or wherever the fuck it is that your Carhartts or your Levi's got made. Maybe in China. That belt, well, assuming that you might get lucky and you might have the belt that holds up the
conveyor
jeans.
belt, or the belt they beat the sweatshop laborers with.
Oh no, I'm talking about the belt to hold up their fucking Levi's. If you're lucky, it's Vegetan. But Vegetan, you still got to heat that shit. So again, you're going back to, well, we're going to have to produce electricity some way. So it's either we're producing it through coal plants or we're producing it through nuclear, which apparently Jill Stein et al. Think is a fucking terrible idea. I'll get to her later.
You know what I think is funny? Germany is on 70% solar. Actually, they're not.
You know why that is? You know why that is? Because back in the late 70s, early 80s, they decided that they were going to move to renewable resources, and
but they aren't. They buy out and they buy out and they don't include the oil that they they gather from their contracts in Iraq and stuff. Because Schlumberger
No,
has
it's not
a
just that.
huge swath of land in the Southwest.
It's not
and
just
they
that.
don't count that.
What it is that when they incentivize people to buy into renewable energy, particularly solar, there is a city I believe it's the southwest of Germany that makes up for carbon deficit around it. Like it's an amazingly green town, but
yeah, you can do that.
They started paying farmers to put up solar panels like 10 feet off the ground so that the cows could run around underneath and graze, because solar panels don't restrict the sunlight getting to the grass and helping it grow. So the cows could eat all the grass they wanted, and these farmers were producing energy. But they did that back in the 70s and 80s when China didn't realize how valuable those rare earth minerals were. Those rare earth minerals, they go for a pretty penny now because China's like, we got 80% of them. We're going to fuck you.
Yep.
So, basically everything you put on, you little Antifa shit, to go to your fucking manslaughter, if the story is to be believed, where that guy that was, boot fucked with a running start, laying there unresponsive, that man died. Everything you put on in support of that, whether it be just generally ideologically in support of, or whether you were there in person, everything you do has to draw from the natural resource and energy generation we currently have. Your hands are not clean. If you're going to argue that, blood diamonds put money on or put food on the table, well, you know what? The food on your table that mommy and daddy bought you because you're going to UC Berkeley and they're paying for that shit, well, that money traces back somehow, some way to the fungible resource that is oil and petrochemicals.
I like
to
that
be a
word.
dick, but this is no different than that horrible loose association that PETA makes about everybody's responsible for the cruelty that's done to farm animals.
Oh, Jesus.
Farm animals get taken better care of than farm people. What the fuck are you talking about?
I had somebody argue that feedlots were environmentally more responsible than 50 head of free-range cattle.
Well, guys, I hate to say this, but I'm going to have to boogie. I got to get some sleep.
Au revoir.
Right.
Auf Wiedersehen. A Wiener
Good
Schnitzel.
night, Magnus. Sleep well.
I've got more yet. Don't worry. You can catch up on it later. You can watch the rest later, Magnus. It'll be all right.
He's like, yeah, it's
No,
not gonna
I
happen.
don't. You might want to cut out the rant part because I'm already shooting powdered semen.
Don't worry.
That's
You can wake up in 6 hours and pop another load because I got Jill Stein to go.
All I have to do is put in a couple of quarts of 40 weight, and I'm good to go again.
Jill Stein is like my mother if she were more motivated.
You know what? Jill Stein may have some absolutely wonderful ideas. I'm sure they're somewhere. She's never communicated them in any manner that resonates with the rest of the human species.
She might have a good recipe for schmaltz.
Well, here's my problem. The theory
that live on silage, don't you know?
The theory that the rest of us assholes are going to pay reparations to begin with is absolutely fucking absurd. Because if I move to the States at any point, which it has been a consideration in my life, none of my family has ever had any connection to transatlantic slavery, and I will absolutely patently I would go to jail for it. I would refuse to pay taxes to pay reparations for transatlantic slavery.
That's never going to happen, and it's never going to happen because one, you have to identify. Yes, but that's because she's retarded.
Yes. Now, moving on to point 2. Again, let's go back to energy generation. Because apparently Jill Stein just hasn't figured this one out. She's like, we need to shut down coal and nuclear. I'm like, okay, well, what's your transition policy? And I never got a response, which indicates to me that there is no actual transition policy. No, there's no plan involved in how you go from turn off the nuclear plants in New York and keep the people in New York and Maine and other places that draw power from those plants from freezing to death in a New England fucking winter, you disingenuous, illiterate, scientifically obtuse cunt.
But feels before reals, man.
The U.S. is a net importer of
Her
energy
feelings
from
will
Canada.
keep you warm.
Yeah, my
They're
feels
gonna
don't,
fucking have
my
to.
feels don't keep my winter weenie from shrinking in. Okay, I wear coveralls that are insulated to prevent my penis from becoming an internal organ. Regardless of how warm I feel, my penis can become an internal organ if I do not dress appropriately in the winter. So I'm pretty sure that keeping your boobies warm in a Canada winter would not happen without external forms of energy generation.
They're not self-warming, but I volunteered to try and help.
Yes, but you've also got a small fusion reactor and you produce a lot of heat. So fuck off.
Well, that's true. I have a fusion reactor. I have a diesel, and I have a coal burner in here someplace.
Yeah, and if you fire off a few rounds, the barrel gets warm. We know.
Exactly.
Such an odd conversation to be part of.
Well, yeah,
you know what?
I can't help it. The whole robot persona is a gift that keeps on giving for jokes. So
it's got to the point where, unfortunately, like I legitimately have to consider shutting down this YouTube account because apparently I'm going to have to fucking run for office and I'm not allowed to have visible counter narrative opinions.
What?
Yeah, no, like legitimately, like
you can't run for office and have opinions. Wait,
I can't have counter narrative opinions because I'm in Trudeau's Canada. Don't forget.
Oh, okay.
Even running as an independent, my statement that I want people that would prioritize a Canadian identity over being Muslim or Sikh or Kurdish or Russian or whatever. Pick a fucking identity. I want them to be Canadian first. That is potentially hate speech.
What? Oh
yeah.
God, I hate Canada.
We're nearly at that point.
You guys need a Donald Trump. You really do.
Well, unfortunately, it's probably going to have to be me because I don't see anybody else stepping up. But unfortunately, I can only get 19 fucking viewers. Oh, sorry, 18.
Oh shit.
But unfortunately, I'm a white, cis, hetero, patriot, capitalist, Nazi fascist.
But I have a question. How do you like the general population of Canada feel? Because I've never spoken to a Canadian. Sorry, I'm making lunch. I've never spoken to a Canadian that actually likes him or his policies at all. Like
they voted for him because he wasn't Harper. I mean, what you saw in the States voting in Trump, a protest vote.
Yeah,
we're well experienced with. Why do you think I spent so much time on Twitter going, all you're going to do is enable a protest vote? Oh, Trump got elected? I'm sorry, did you not pay attention to me? No, of course not.
Yeah, that's a lot of how he won,
Mama,
but it was also...
I told you about my ex-girlfriend losing her shit because I wouldn't characterize Trump supporters as neo-Nazis. This is a woman that accepted that modern feminism had lost the fucking plot, but apparently when it comes to Trump, listen and believe is the mantra of the day. It's just a different fucking cult.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump makes a statement that he is going to do nothing about Obama's LGBT policies, and people still losing their shit.
So he's like, I'm just going to leave it alone because, let's face it, he considers it a non-issue. And people are losing their minds over, I'm not going to change anything. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Oh, no, they're fucking losing their fucking minds.
I have to go back and look, but there is there's actually a psychological condition for this.
Called chronic Kruger-Dunning, where you think you're smarter than you actually are.
No. I mean the outbreak of hysteria, like constantly amping yourself up with hysteria. Oh shit! See, this is why I didn't become because I'm bad at this stuff.
Well, it's a hysterical phenomenon.
Yeah, there's a specific name for it. This social hysteria. It's herd mentality and herd action.
Yeah, well, it's mob mentality.
It's
related to the mob mentality. There are things that people will do in a mob that they would never be able to rationalize in their own lives. I mean, the man that may have been bludgeoned to death, I'm sure that not one of the people that it was directly involved in that would rationalize murdering a man in the street, but as part of a mob, somehow they're going to rationalize it as, well, I wasn't the only one. And that's why the Nuremberg defense is not a defense.
Yeah.
Just because everybody else did it. If all the lemmings run off the cliff, are you going to run off too? If everybody jumped off a bridge, will you do it too? No.
But they will probably, you know, find any way that they can to justify their obnoxious and atrocious behaviors.
They've spent so much time rationalizing it's okay to punch a Nazi, it's okay to punch a fascist, it's okay to punch people for differing political opinions. And I am now so far to the right.
Mass hysteria. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I'm so far right in the Overton window that I now legitimately feel that I am threatened. I'm so far left that I like unionists are generally considered slightly to the right of me. And I consider myself at risk from the leftist elements.
It depends on where you are, but like I said, you will never see this shit in a red state, in a red zone. You will only see this in a place where everybody's pretty much to the left. That's why you saw it in like Portland.
They're ruining their own cities.
Or New York or Berkeley. Yeah, and they don't care. I mean, that's sort of the thing. It's like
because they expect the government to come in and mop it up.
If the police respond to it at all, the way that they respond is to disperse, when what they should do is surround them and kettle them in. And we don't, that's a tactic that we differ in, but that's why people get away with this shit, is because we're running them off when what we should be doing is cornering them. Because you're going to get, the first people that are going to disperse when they do this shit is the people that incited it. The first people to act, the people who, you know, preach the rhetoric and all of that shit, the leaders. They will go out of their way, even in a mob mentality, to try to save their leader, whoever they perceive to be that. So if you're in a clique of, say, like 15 people and you have, you know, one person preaching the good word about, you know, punching Nazis, they're going to save that person first because they view them and regard them as their leader. And dispersal is not really what you want in a riot situation. You want containment, and they don't really seem to understand that. In some places they do, like here we kettle. But I don't think that they do that. It depends on how your police force is trained. But here they surround, because the idea is to hold those who are responsible, not disperse violent people into the general public, which is what happened at Berkeley. Instead of, well, I think their mayor actually told the police force to stand down when the UC Berkeley police called them in.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean,
what was that, guys? I was looking for him on Twitter, sorry. He basically tweeted out that hate speech is not welcome in Berkeley, and they're going to show that they won't tolerate it. And then, you know, this riot pops off, and UC Berkeley tweeted out that they had called for backup, and then did a shelter in place, and that was it pretty much. And then you saw no open police force, no public police force. So idiots. But what, buddy? I'm trying to find something. He's like, give me my food. I'm making lunch. So it's just waiting for shells and cheese right now. And I don't buy the fancy stuff because that's fancy. I buy just regular shells and the cheapest cheese sauce I can get. Because we owe. And taxes are coming up. And somehow we always owe taxes. I have literally a litter of children and make no money and still owe taxes every year.
How the hell does that happen? I mean, well, where do you live again, Mala?
I live in Arizona, but I'm talking about federal taxes.
That's very strange. I mean, you said you owe money, but you don't make any. What the hell? How the hell does that happen?
Well, if you make anything,
right,
and you also have Obamacare, and you do your little 1095, And
is it penalty?
there's that, and then there's also if you have investments or something that you don't actively profit from in any way, they tax that again.
It's capital tax.
Yeah, you get. I have my YouTube channel is technically a business, so I have to pay corporate taxes. I have to pay taxes on pretty much everything. That's one of the things that I actually am liking about right now is that there's going to be a reassessment of corporate taxes because entrepreneurs cannot afford to pay corporate taxes. And if you're trying to actually like start like a brick and mortar business and employ people, you really can't afford it, and you can't afford the Obamacare penalties either.
Yeah.
So you end up having to limit yourself for how much money you can make so that your employees can have adequate medical coverage. And it's just it's such a bitch. It's ridiculous how bad
I was legitimately told by a number of people that the way to deal with the Obamacare issue is to just be a tax fraud and check that you have other coverage.
That's essentially all that you can do if you're in a position where you really can't afford it. So like I have to rely on disability, which is only partial, and I'm like trying to go to school, and there used to be a tax break for you if you were going to school and trying to get employed again. And that's not there anymore for some reason. He was like displaced worker or something like that. So there were ways to, basically not be taxed into the fucking poorhouse. But as it stands right now, like I said, we pay 53% and our combined income goes to taxes. That means we live on 47% of what we actually bring in. And it's ridiculous. So you end up having the only way to get ahead, like to pay your bills and shit like that, is to be a tax fraud. Because otherwise you're going to end up paying out the ass. And it's really, really hard when you have a family and you're trying to make investments, like buying a house that you can maybe sell later. You're going to get fucked over hardcore here. Because they used to have a break for if you were a first-time home buyer, you got a tax break, and they pulled that. And there's so much shit that you used to have that would actually help you out when you were otherwise financially struggling. That's all been done away with. You're just paying out the ass now. It's been really weird to see my taxes creep up and up and up because I don't make any more money than I did before. So and I didn't know that until I went on disability, I didn't know that they tax your disability.
Yep.
I was like, are you fucking serious? Because it's not really, you can put it in trash. I think it's
a little weird, yeah.
$346 a month, and that usually covers just the medication. Actually, it's actually a little bit more than that. I think it's like $400 every month. But they tax your disability so that you end up with, I think the stipend is $346, and then when it's $319 after taxes, and that's just the state taxes because it's a state program. But everything comes out of it. And then with the Obamacare thing, a lot of people don't realize you will still have to pay premiums on a lot of plans.
Yep.
And I don't think people understood that when they were signing up for it. I think that they thought everybody was going to get on Medicaid. And that's not how it worked. So a lot of people abandoned their very good PPO gold plans and stuff, and now they're stuck with this really shitty whatever plan they could grab, and it doesn't really cover anything, and they cut you off as soon as they possibly can from their episodes of care. Like that happened to my dad. He had a heart attack and a stroke at the same time, and basically he was working for a university and he was working in a right to work state, and they just fired him because it was going to be too much to pay for his medical bills. So they fired him, or laid him off, I guess they would say. And then his hospital stay was covered, but nothing after that was covered, which is not how the system was supposed to work. The way that it was supposed to work is if you went in for an episode of care like that, your consequential procedures and medication would also be covered up to a certain time limit. And that's what my dad thought. He got that plan. And he didn't, but once you're locked in, that's your plan now. You can't shift. You can't change it. So he's paying, I think, something like $1,200 a month for medication that should have been covered as part of his episode of care. And now they're trying to not pay for his pacemaker and shit like that. And that's what happens when, my parents are baby boomer hippies. So they totally trusted the government to take care of them. Like that was their biggest. I would never do that. I've worked in medical administration. I would never fucking trust them with my medical health ever. Take care of yourself.
I have a question. Remember I mentioned that UC Berkeley is claiming that it was 150 people that were reacting violently. Why is Fusion, which considers itself a media source, claiming that it's over 1,000 people protesting a Nazi's guest appearance? A Nazi's guest appearance.
I still don't know how you get a gay Jew Nazi, but whatever.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. The two things that have gotten us in trouble here is that the left has decided that it's okay to punch a Nazi, and
everybody's a Nazi.
Yes, there you go, and everyone's a Nazi, which is ridiculous. Because that's why I did the video on the fascism is dead, or is it? Because fascism. If you want to be honest about the real definition of what fascism is, yeah, it's dead. But of course, it's not dead because anybody I don't like is a fascist, is a thing. So
yeah. Well, it's been being given new life.
Because Bunny Toes Mussolini would have no idea what the fuck this shit is, except for the closest you could get would be, Vuvuzuela, and that's it. And
I don't know, all the beating people in the street to make them, agree with your political view is very, very Mussolini.
Well, see, the actual fascism is more than just a government by force, a totalitarianism. There's also a cult of personality. North Korea is a good example, and a rejection of international socialism, international communism, and also a rejection of anything even vaguely resembling capitalism or liberal classical values. All of that stuff. It's supposed to be a new way, a scientific way of managing society with a strong leader.
And it seemed like a cult of anti-personality, but
well, and how it happens is because of like any system that's totalitarian. I mean, in the sense of it's supposed to encompass everything. Everything is political, and everything is part of the system. When I say totalitarian, I mean in the classical sense. That requires force. Because you're going to have people who dissent. If they're free to dissent, then and the system doesn't have a problem with that, like in a, and again, I mean in the classical, like a liberal system, a free system, like the West mostly has, the dissenters are tolerated or even just given the grace of indifference by the system because they're free to do that if they want to dissent as long as they aren't breaking any laws, no big deal. In a totalitarian system, dissent is because everything is political. It requires force to stop the dissent. Even if their dissent is completely peaceful, they have to be shut down. So if we are experiencing fascism, all we're missing from the fanatical left at this point is a dear leader, which I hate to say it. If they'd had someone more charismatic than Hillary, they might have had something.
Yeah, she was a pretty terrible choice. She was just awful.
Yeah, Bill Clinton could have pulled something like that off, but I don't think he would have. For all that I politically disagree with Bill Clinton, he was a mostly peaceful guy, as far as I could tell. He's probably just as big a conniving politician as his wife is, but he seems more like I guess we're just gonna have to let him disagree, honey. And the response from her is, no, they must die. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty much.
And George Soros is trying to achieve utopia before he dies.
Well, his own personal utopia. He sure doesn't give a fuck if other people die.
Well, he's so old he's gonna die here in the next decade. Thank goodness.
God, just die.
You know, because what I love about George Soros, he's everything that the people on the left think the Koch brothers are. You know.
Yeah.
And I've seen
Well,
I've seen some interviews with the Koch brothers, and at least the one I saw an interview of, he actually seems like an okay guy. He seems like a nice fella, and everybody attributes all this evil to him. And I'm beginning to wonder, is it all just the hype? Because I was looking for the Dark Lord of the Sith, and what I got was Mr. Rogers with a bit of a meddling complex. I wish I was kidding. I'm not lying. That's what he came off as,
doesn't
Mr. Rogers.
George Soros look like Emperor Palpatine? Like
he does, and I think in a way maybe he is, because I mean, he's the sort of person who benefits from these leftists basically provoking a police response, and all they need, like Mark mentioned earlier, is that shot or that film in of a policeman taking a baton to a black bloc protester, and it turns out it's a girl or something. And that's all it takes. That's what he's looking for. He needs that moment. You know. So
allow me to read what Jesse Araguin, apparently the mayor of Berkeley, had to say about the protests. And I think I'm gonna end it on this.
Okay.
So this is from the office of the mayor of Berkeley.
Okay.
Destruction and violence are contrary to progressive values and have no place in our community. I support those who peacefully come together in pursuit of a just and inclusive country that stands united with our immigrant population and the many others who are being targeted in this national political climate. Unfortunately, last night, a small minority of the protesters who had assembled in opposition to a speaking engagement featuring a prominent white nationalist engaged in violence and property damage. They also provided the ultra-nationalist far right exactly the images they wanted to use to try and discredit the vast majority of peaceful protesters in Berkeley and across America who are deeply concerned about where our country is headed. I represent a city that stands united for community, for inclusion, and for a peaceful dialogue about the issues, and that stands united against bigotry, united against fear-mongering, and united against violence towards anyone. For our community to be a beacon of light in these dark times, we must display our values of inclusion, keep each other and our community safe, embrace our right to peacefully assemble, and show the rest of the country our values in both speech and action.
Oh, we saw.
To which the immediate response was a still image of the man. I'm sorry, the man is unresponsive. He is face down and unresponsive. I've been in construction for over 20 years. And one of the things they teach us in first aid courses that I have to take every 3 years is how to judge an unresponsive individual. Now, this is basic, like emergency response first aid. This is the level of first aid you need to keep somebody stable until emergency response can get there. So you're doing things like checking fingers and talking to them. I mean, I've been told to blow up their nose because people will snort if you blow up their nose and they're conscious. That man is unresponsive. Somebody takes 3 steps.
Continually being attacked.
That man somebody takes 3 steps and embarrasses Chris Cluey with a field goal kick to that poor fuck's head.
Yeah.
And then they beat him. And you are going to tell me that this is inclusiveness. Are you out of your fucking mind?
They're out of their minds. They're crazy. They have lost all sense of perspective.
I'm so far to the left that the Green Party is my fucking neighbor to the left, assholes.
You are not that far left, and I don't know it.
I am, but by any reasonable standard,
we're not dealing with reasonable people.
But you know what? I want the government to stay the fuck out of my shit.
They're drawing their circle smaller and smaller about who's on their side, and that's kind of the problem.
But that's my argument about the Overton window. They push shit so far to the left that red is the other side of fucking Stalin, or the other side of fucking Mussolini. And I'm like, I'm so far to the right compared to these people that like I should be agitating for fucking. I should be. Well, no, like there's a small separation between us, I'm sure, relatively speaking.
There are some details, but what I'm saying is they're so far out of their goddamn minds, they would see you and I.
According to them,
together.
I'm agitating to put fucking badges on people. And yet I'm the one that gets labeled. I'm just sitting here going, I judge people by their characters. If you play 4th edition D&D, you're an asshole. I also judge you by your ability to sing the falsetto portions of the Bohemian Rhapsody while shit-faced drunk at 3 a.m. Like, my fucking standards for humanity are not complicated. I want you to be a decent human being. If you come to work, do the job you're paid for. Honest day, honest pay. That's it. Yeah. Like, and if I meet you on the street, I expect you not to immediately assume that because I want people that prioritize the values that my country is founded on, that I am inherently somehow xenophobic. You want to be here, you better be here to be one of us.
Because those last statements, from their point of view, would put you on the far right wing with me. Because here's what's really fucked up. Here, just to leave you on this one. You know how old I am. I'm almost 45 years old. Okay. I have seen the political left go so far wacky that stuff that Sargon's a good example. Stuff that conservatives have been saying for the last 20 years is a revelation, and it's now being spoken openly by left-wing people because the rest of the left has gone so far out of their goddamn minds that I watched you say basically stuff that would have been 20 years ago described as hyper-nationalist thinking from a rational left-wing person going, maybe it would be nice if people who came here adopted our value system, because assuming that's why they came here is to be an American like us or a Canadian like you.
Yeah, like
I'm sorry. I'm going to put this really now simply. It's the left is just like reasonable left-wing people are going, yeah, that's the right thing to think. And I'm like, welcome to the fucking party, assholes.
If the ultra-religious Christians of Ethiopia want to come here and are going to advocate for their own version of Christian law, then no, I'm not comfortable with that. If
you come here,
Pastafarians,
you have to join our party,
If Pastafarians decide that everybody has to wear a fucking colander, well, you know what? You can absolutely wear a colander if that's what happens to turn your fucking crank. But you will not dictate to me what I am permitted to wear or what religious observance I must perform. And the same goes for Islam and Judaism and Buddhism and Taoism and Zoroastrianism and any form of animism you want to fucking name. And I don't care. Be an ancestralist. Fucking convince yourself, much like I'm trying to remember which Canadian prime minister was convinced he talked to his dead mother. I mean, sure, convince yourself that you can speak to your dead mother about policy issues. That's fucking amazing. I don't have to give it a fucking iota of fucking credence. Not a single fucking iota. I have to look out for me and what I'm dealing with. And what my loved ones want. And you know what? I have a lot of gay friends. A lot of gay friends. And sure, I'm sure somebody out there at some point is going to fucking quote mine the shit out of this and go, oh, well, you're just making the I have a black friend defense. You know what, motherfucker? The second that somebody comes after my gay friends for being who they are because they were born that way, I will be speed loading magazines so them motherfuckers can pick them off from the rooftops they were going to be thrown from. I'm not gonna quibble. I'm not gonna fucking equivocate. I'm not gonna be subtle. You do not have the right.
No one would ever describe you as subtle.
No, I
have the subtlety of a chainsaw.
I am less subtle than Antifa taking a brick and a sock to you.
That's true. Now, I do wonder, do you guys think it's going to come to like violent confrontation, or do you think that they're going to stay in their little
I hope not.
If they have
their little blue zone?
If they have put me in a position where I consider my own personal safety to be at risk in Canada, then we're past the point of no return. This is an escalatory spiral. And I'm sorry. You know what? There are rumors that the guy that sucker punched Richard Spencer, as reprehensible as Richard Spencer is in his advocacy, and even in the context that Pike presented, that was not his article, and that article was in fact satirical. There are rumors that the man that sucker punched Richard Spencer had a wrench taped to his arm, and that he was basically hitting him with he was hitting him like a truck. And Spencer shook that the fuck off.
Yeah. It was he just walked off like, damn, you know?
Do you really want to fuck with that guy unless you can put him down? Because honestly, here's the challenge, Antifa. You don't put me down, I am taking a bunch of you fuckers with me.
Well, here's the thing that as I think Wizard of Cause pointed out, the most of the Antifa, basically these are people with soft day jobs. They have
day jobs.
Numbers. And I really hope it doesn't come to violence, because here's what's going to happen.
Because there's a lot of assholes with 30-round clips and and semi-automatic weapons. I'm sorry, that's
most of the people the people like me and you, and I mean, even I have a desk job now, but I didn't always, and I haven't grown completely weak in my old age. I'm talking real life, real person, to drop the robot persona for a second. I have a friend who is a good another almost a half a foot taller than me and a good a few more inches on size, but he's never worked a labor job in his entire life.
And he's soft.
If you looked at him, you think, holy crap, he's strong. I can tear him apart. And I'm halfway to being 90. Okay, I'm a typical right-wing conservative voter. And I only own a sword. Most people have a gun. If they would listen to me, I would beg them, please don't start this war. You will die, and we will have trouble. Because you won't win against us if you try to bring it to a physical fight. You can't do it, and I don't want that to happen. It's not worth it. What we're arguing over, the whole point of a civil society is to not come to blows. Because if we do, the soft people die, and it's not fair to them.
George Soros' son attends UC Berkeley.
Oh, why not?
Of course.
I mean, let me put it this way, Red.
Unsurprising.
Spino is arguing that this is somehow justifiable. It's what I've seen. Let me go find the fucking tweet, because I responded to it.
Spino has lost the fucking plot then.
Wow.
Yeah. I've got to go find the fucking tweet, because I responded to him.
Find a plot for him while you're at it.
Oh, I'd invite him in. So he screenshotted Paul Joseph Watson, Paul Joseph Watson's tweet is, the left is openly inciting civil war with 55 million American gun owners. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
And then
Which they are.
Spino tweets, the right is inciting civil war using anarchist thugs as a scapegoat.
How?
What the fuck? How? This is exactly the opposite of everything that the right stands for.
Here are my responses. David Sherritt, you are welcome to fucking dispute me on this, but I live in Canada, which is really fucking liberal and doesn't have a gun culture. And I am now at the point where I consider it relevant and germane to my own safety to consider getting a firearms acquisition certificate in order to defend my property and my life. Because I legitimately think, based on the example of BLM infiltration of Canada, there is a significant possibility that similar sorts of infiltration will occur. And that I will now, as somebody who grew up in the Nazi punks fuck off era of punk music, will have to defend myself from people that don't think I'm punk enough.
Which is ridiculous.
So here are my responses. I'm afraid, based on BLM infiltration of Canada, that I will experience this escalation. I've just spent 3 hours discussing this in a live stream. I'm not left enough for Antifa Black Bloc. There was an instance of liberals get the bullet too with a hammer and sickle at the protest. Like, I'm technically a classical liberal, and I would be placed against the wall.
Pretty much right wing now. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That these fuckers are so crazy. They're going to group you with me because we agree on some very simple, what I think are common sense things
Like
That,
I don't know,
think
like
that where we can differ on policy.
Red and I own adjoining properties, and they're large enough properties that Red has got some hay bales set up in the back. And Red decides once a week that he's going to waddle out on a Sunday afternoon when it's nice and bright out and play target practice. And then he goes inside and he drinks because, well, he happens to want a beer because cordite makes him thirsty.
Yep.
And I sit down and I go, well, that's fucking interesting. And I continue to read my Sunday Times because that's the life I want to fucking live.
Yeah.
And if Red comes over and says, you're playing the music a little too loud, and or you've been running your hot rod too early in the morning, well, I go, okay, well, no, that's reasonable. I'm sorry I woke you up. I forgot that you were working night shift on this particular schedule. If I'm going to light up my hot rod, I'll wait until 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday because that's when you get up. That's called voluntary recognition.
Yeah. And that's
when
like,
you
I don't play
behave
my heavy
like
metal
fucking
too loud,
adults.
you know, and I tell maintenance girl to tone it down a bit in the middle of Wahoo in the middle of the night, that kind of thing.
Yeah, maintenance girl fucking her speakers fucking flip open and she fucking lets loose a howl. Well, I'm sorry, I got to get up for 6 o'clock. Can you remind her not to be quite so vocal?
Sorry about that.
Like that's how adults deal with shit. They don't deal with shit by breaking into a Starbucks and firing the cappuccino machine out the front fucking window. Because Milo Yiannopolous, black cocks, sucker of black cocks, and occasionally
a white supremacist.
Like he sucks black dick and he's a power bottom and he's part fucking Jewish. Like white supremacist, anti-Semite. What?
To be fair, Marx was part Jewish and an anti-Semite, but that's beside the point.
But it's particularly unusual. The common complaint of internalized whatever the fucky is pretty fucking rare and usually involves abuse by a family member corresponding to that characteristic. So that's where you get the ridiculously distant MiG-Taliban and the ridiculously distant political feminists. They have
I forgot about that term they used for the big Taliban. That's good.
These are people that have experienced abuse and are unable to reconcile the fact that not all individuals that share that characteristic are inherently abusive.
Yeah. There's no justification for the violence. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely insanity.
It goes beyond insanity.
Well, I mean, that's why you never saw violence at a Hillary rally, did you? I mean, not that there were really enough people there, but
but I mean, yeah, it's like when
you didn't
Obama
see
took
that.
over. I remember all the riots and burning and looting from the right-wing Tea Partiers. Oh wait, no. I think there was a little bit of rabble rousing, but comparatively speaking, it was a Sunday.
But
a Sunday
they're conservative,
tea.
so everybody else in their side was like, "Shut the fuck up and sit down."
Yeah,
They really were. They were just like, "No, we won't be doing that."
Yeah, it was because I think they recognize that if you go too far, you're hurting the movement. These people have no concept of too far.
No.
Yeah, that's true too.
No bad tactics, only bad targets.
Well, they are making themselves look like total assholes. They are actually killing their own movement, whatever movement that might be.
Hopefully
Apparently,
violence breaks out.
Well, yeah, because you have to now find a way to justify harming innocent people as though they are an enemy. And you're not going to be able to do that, especially now with all the cameras everywhere. Everybody can see what fucking retards you are. And you can't hide that. I mean, that's one of the better things about
There were people taking selfies in front of that burning light plant.
I'm sure, because they're fucking retarded.
I mean,
and
the Vancouver police, when the Vancouver Canucks went to the playoffs and the riots occurred, they were looking through people's social media in Vancouver and identifying people that participated in the riots, and they were charging them.
Good. We need to do that here.
That's funny.
They really do need to do that here. It's getting to that point where it's just ridiculous.
How reputable is News Channel 4 for the Berkeley area? I'm not familiar with them. So
I have no idea.
Okay, so
It's California,
The
so you could
violent
probably
protesters
expect
tore
some
down
of
metal barriers, set fires near the campus bookstore, and damaged the construction site of a new dorm. One woman wearing a red Trump hat, she was not wearing a fucking Trump hat, she wore a hat that said "Make Bitcoin Great Again," was pepper sprayed in the face while being interviewed by CNN affiliates KJO. Able to respond that she was okay after the attack. Where else was it? Black-clad protesters wearing masks threw commercial-grade fireworks and rocks at police. Some even hurled Molotov cocktails that ignited fires. They also smashed windows of the Student Union Center at the Berkeley campus. I mean,
destroy your own town in protest. Sounds like such a fucking plan.
apparently protesters were complaining that Yiannopolous espouses hate speech. Keeping people that are antithetical to the moral values of Western culture is not hate speech. I hate to have to sound like a member of the alt-right, but that's where we are, folks. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. I am unwilling to permit people that consider the genital mutilation of any children to be an acceptable religious standard. I am unwilling to accept people that have members of their religious clergy that advocate for garbing young girls in religious garments without any concession to agency at the age of 3 and beating them at the age of 7 if they refuse. I refuse to have people that have religious affiliation that involves clergy that attempt to normalize and rationalize the murder of women by stoning for rape, and that will behead people that attempt to separate themselves from that affiliation. I'm sorry, that those are moral standards and values that are antithetical to what I consider to be the proper function of anything resembling a civilization. That's not even, I'm not even going to couch it in the terms of Western civilization. I'm just going to couch that in the terms of civilization, period. Treating your wife or multiple wives, if that happens to be the bent you're willing to take, as nothing more than sperm receptacles that you can clothe in any manner you prefer, and that you can beat if they do not immediately cleave to your every command, is unacceptable to me.
You can actually beat them if you think they won't listen.
And someday my robot sisters will have this revolution too, but in the time, for the time being, you know.
Well, it's about choosing your value system.
Yeah.
You know, are you going to stand on your moral footing, or are you going to stand on shaky ground? And that's kind of the question. When you take time to consider other voices and other opinions, that's how you formulate a strong stance, and that's how you build your moral foundation. By hearing dissenting voices, by understanding that, you know, some people may disagree, and you can't effectively debate or argue something you disagree with if you're not even willing to hear it.
Yeah.
In order to formulate a counter argument. And that's kind of where we're at, is that they've been shut down by reason, and so this is their response. This is always the response of children who don't get their way, is to scream and throw a fit. And that's pretty much what they're doing, except that they're affecting other people and indeed injuring and possibly even killing them.
Yep.
So we've allowed this to grow, this animal to fester and grow into this raging beast of, I don't even know what to call it.
Well, see, that's the catch-22 of it. If we're as a civilization, we're in a lot of trouble. And this is something that was talked about a good 20 years ago in the conservative circles, that if we uphold our values of freedom of association, freedom of speech, then these people will inevitably try to persuade some people to do the opposite. And we have to allow the persuasion to allow them to try and persuade people to these regressive ideas. And if they succeed in enough quantity, that we will get an attempted revolution, and then we will have to violate our values briefly to put this movement down. And I don't mean and like when I say put down, I don't mean like putting down an animal as a movement, maybe, but not people. Some people are going to have to go to jail. Hopefully it doesn't come to actual bloodshed, but I have this fear that it might. Hopefully
here's the thing.
They're far too bold and far too arrogant for it to come to anything else. That's really the problem. We've allowed this to grow too far.
When you look at the images, when you look, I'll go back to my Chris Cluey reference. I mean, that fucker is a useless fucking punter. And that man that is unresponsive on the fucking street, somebody tries to put his head between the goalposts.
Yep.
And that girl that's struck with a flagpole and then whoever the man is pulled away, she's pepper sprayed.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sorry. You've now reached a point where my relatively pacifist tendencies, my desire to only respond in self-defense, are now pushed to the point where I consider myself actually justified in arming myself in order to ensure that I will remain safe. And that, I mean, I still have vague hopes of having children. I will absolutely, I'm absolutely going to be teaching my children to defend themselves. I'm sorry. If my kids can get into Krav Maga at the age of 5, they're absolutely fucking going into it. and you know what? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they could probably start that at 4.
You can. It's actually really fun too, by the way.
And I will teach them good gun safety and responsible gun ownership right from the get-go. And I will, you know what? If I have to, I hate fucking horses, but if I have to go out and get myself an acreage and buy a couple horses and ensure that they understand how to ride so that they're not dependent on the ability to use a motor vehicle in order to escape, I will absolutely do so. I think horses are great lawnmowers and amazing pets, but I have no interest in being on the back of one. I think they're the scariest fucking things ever designed as far as riding them go. But I will absolutely make sure that my children have every single possible skill to defend themselves and survive if this continues. Because honestly, this looks like, to me, and I'm not saying this to be hyperbolic, this looks like the opening salvo of a civil war that is going to go very badly.
Yeah, it will go very badly for the people that are starting it, and they don't realize that. Or maybe they do and they don't, or the people that are funding them realize and don't care, but it will not. I
doubt the people funding them care at all. Even slightly for their lives.
If I thought it would matter to them, I would plead with them and say, please don't do this. Because most of the people that will die are innocent people who just convinced or deluded that this was the right thing to do and not explain the possible consequences. Those are the people that are going to pay for this.
Well, but
the only thing that we can do is basically identify, because there's always a core of really hardcore rabble rousers. So if we can get those people in jail,
here's the problem.
That'll help a lot, actually. Yeah,
absolutely right. And I touched on this earlier. We're dealing with a generation of people that got handed awards for existence. These are people that have never had to reconcile the notion that a lack of success should instinctively inspire a desire to work harder or get better. It's simply good enough to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They have no concept of consequences. Oh, well, you didn't do good enough in class. Well, that's okay. We'll give you all A's. Like, no.
Let mommy go yell at the teacher. You'll pass. Don't worry.
I'm gonna go hit the bot wash. I'll see you guys later.
And I'm gonna wrap it up right away. Honestly, I'm up close to 3 hours past my bedtime.
All right, we'll go to bed, man. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
So, thank you for stopping by, everybody that put up with this rambling bullshit. And hopefully later, I'm talking to somebody who's at least as far left as me, and he's got some different opinions on this. So maybe I'll do a live stream with him later, but it'll be tomorrow at the earliest. So,
that'd be good. Thanks for inviting me, dude.
Yeah,
have fun, everybody, and keep your stick on the
I
ice. and
appreciate you
stay
putting
safe.
up with me doing my momming stuff while, while
Well,
streaming.
if Devil's Advocate's in a stream, he's got to do dad stuff because he's the stay-at-home pop.
Okay, that's nice.
Here you go, Mama. His boy is 11 months old, already starting to walk, and 30 fucking pounds.
Jeez.
Well,
Well, at least he's
remember,
already starting to walk, so you don't have to carry him around. So.
yeah, remember, Devil's Advocate is a 6.5 foot tall nigger. So, and his wife is very full figured.
Have a tall kid.
She is a very, very sturdy woman. They just
the best guy.
they just bred the next, like, that boy's gonna either grow up to be like the next dominant guard in the NBA, or he's gonna be the entire front four of the Detroit Lions.
They could use it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, it's either. Well, I mean, it might be Oakland, depending on how badly they do.
All right.
We're still alive, guys.
Right, later, fuckers.
Let's wrap up. Bye.
Bye.